Blog Talk Radio.
Company, always on the run, a destiny, oh, it's our rising sun. I was born, a shotgun in my hands, behind the gun, I'll make my final stand. Yeah, and that's why they call me bad company. I can't deny.
All right, everybody. Joseph Gibson podcasting here, restoring our republic. We all know, and back in 2005, Operation Red Wings, it was a day where we lost more Navy SEALs than any other time in history except for World War II. And so we're going to cover some of that. Marcus Luttrell is actually a friend of mine. And I might get him on here sometime, actually. I know I had Chris Kyle's wife. I remember I had her when she started her foundation up. She was going to come on my podcast, Taya Kyle. And anyone who doesn't know who Taya Kyle is, that's Chris Kyle's wife. Kyle was killed. He was, everybody knows that movie, American Sniper. That was about Chris Kyle's life. So, a good guy, really good guy. Taya, really good woman. So he lost his life too early. But, so I'll be back here in a couple minutes, and we'll start to play a couple things. Contribute, and those of you who don't know about Operation Red Wings, cover a little bit about it. And it's just something that, we as a country, we have all these heroes now, these LGBTQ, and everybody's a hero, I mean, we just had, I saw on Fox News this morning, female had to, and they're in a female locker room, and a man has to, who calls himself a woman that day, gets to go in there and undress and compete against women and against a swim team. I mean, I'm going to cover all that. It's just absolutely disgusting. This is what this country is going to. I mean, this is just absolutely disgusting. It's perverted. It's perversion. It's bestiality. It's disgusting. It's immoral, ungodly, and everything. I don't care who you are, what you are. If you hate America, it's just ungodly. It's wrong. It's unnatural, and it has to stop. Gay pride, woke people, or whatever. You want to be accepted. You want to be accepted. Well, don't go marching down the street half naked. You want to be accepted. Okay? For God's sake, if I want to be accepted in the community or I want to be accepted in society, I sure as hell wouldn't do it the way they're doing it. Pride, gay pride, bunch of nonsense. I just don't understand. I mean, can any of us really understand what's going on anymore out there? Can we? Or are we just gone mad? Now, how far along have we come since these days, huh? Let me play this real quick, and I'll be right back.
If we look to the end as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Port Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
I mean, I don't know how you can not beat that. I mean, if anyone, I mean, if any speeches at all, ever, I mean, how could, see, people just don't understand, I guess, you know, they just, I mean, like one of the people were saying on my show, Sarge was saying a few weeks ago when we did a Memorial Day show, they don't understand the service or what it's like to sacrifice and to serve or to make that oath and that and when you make a pledge and you put your life on the line for your brother or your fellow or your people, or they just don't understand it. They don't get it. I mean, if anyone's ever seen their friend die, whoever's ever experienced death or seen death or seen the horrors of war firsthand, you just can't, there's no words that can describe what many veterans have seen or fought and died for us to enjoy the freedoms that we are watching get wasted away. It's so hard to get, we were doing a show earlier trying to get people to call in to unify voices across the country, to have a powerful voice to stop corruption. And it seems like it's a battle. Man, years ago, I mean, I would bet that to light a fire like this would be so easy. I mean, I just don't understand. People are just so caught up in their own life that they're so worried about themselves and they're willing to sacrifice. And I'm going to tell you something, sacrifice, you know. It's this group right here that I'm going to be talking about, the Operation Red Wings, with these Navy SEALs that, I mean, I knew these guys, so, you know, it's hard, but what they went through, I mean, like the Congressional Medal of Honor, Mike Murphy, I mean, the sacrifice that he laid out for his brothers that day, I mean, it's just the ultimate sacrifice of Lieutenant Michael Murphy that day, to give his life is just amazing. And then these sacrifices that many Americans have given throughout the years, the heroism to fight for that flag. You know, granted, America has a lot of sins. There's no perfect country. We've done a lot wrong. But then we look at yourself. Are you perfect? I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. And none of us, I'm sure, claim to be perfect. So America is not perfect either. But America has that goodness about it that is wanting to be perfect, that gives us the tools to be perfect. We have the Constitution. We have the flag, the red, white, and blue. We have everything. You know, it's just not a song and dance. It's just not a tune that we sing. It's just not that pledge. It's just not words. It means something. You know, and in your life, in our everyday lives, we tend to forget that. You know, all these people going to work in their metal coffins every day, they forget about the sacrifice that so many have given so that we can enjoy this freedom. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing that I mean, like I said, it's just so very difficult to put in words some of this stuff. I'm going to play this. It's about 4 minutes long. This is a tribute to Lieutenant Murphy, and very important that we pay tribute to this hero. He was part of our generation, and then I'll go over the story of Operation Red Wings and explain what happened and that day in Afghanistan, where so many Navy SEALs lost their lives. There was a terrible, 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 tragic day for me. And many of you, this was 2005. Where were you in June of 2005? Think about it. Many people didn't even know this was going on. So it's pretty sad. But let me play this real quick, and then maybe if I got any callers, I'll open up the lines too. Maybe some people have something to contribute.
Mikey or Murph. They remember a patriot who wore a New York City firehouse badge on his uniform in honor of the heroes of 9/11. And they remember an officer who respected their opinions and led them with an understated yet unmistakable sense of command. Together, Michael and his fellow SEALs deployed multiple times around the world in the war against the extremists and radicals. While their missions were often carried out in secrecy, their love of country and devotion to each other was always clear. On June 28, 2005, Michael would give his life for these ideals. While conducting surveillance on a mountain ridge in Afghanistan, he and 3 fellow SEALs were surrounded by a much larger enemy force. Their only escape was down the side of a mountain. And the SEALs launched a valiant counterattack while cascading from cliff to cliff. But as the enemy closed in, Michael recognized the survival of his men depended on falling back to the base for reinforcements. With complete disregard for his own life, he moved into a clearing where his phone would get reception. He made the call, and Michael then fell under heavy fire. Yet his grace and upbringing never deserted him. Though severely wounded, he said thank you before hanging up and returning to fight before losing his life. Unfortunately, the helicopter carrying the reinforcements never reached the scene. It crashed after being struck by a rocket-propelled grenade. And in the Angmor Mountains in Afghanistan on June 28, 2005, and on any other day since the beginning of Operation Red Wings. This day of tragedy also the sad distinction of being the deadliest for Navy Special Warfare Forces in World War II. One of Michael's fellow SEALs did make it off the mountain beach. He was one of Michael's closest friends. Petty Officer Marcus Luttrell of Texas, author of a riveting book called Lone Survivor, put it this way: Mikey was the best officer I ever knew, an iron-souled warrior of colossal and almost unbelievable courage in the face of the enemy. For his courage, we award Lieutenant Michael Murphy the First Medal of Honor for combat in Afghanistan. And with this medal, we acknowledge a debt that will not diminish with time and can never be repaid. Our nation is blessed to have volunteers like Michael, who risk their lives for our freedom. We're blessed to have mothers and fathers like Maureen and Dan Murphy, who raise sons with such character and courage. And we're blessed with the mercy of a loving God who comforts all those who grieve. And now I ask Michael's parents to join us on stage, and the military aides will lead the citation. The President of the United States of America, in the name of Congress, takes pride in presenting the Medal of Honor to Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy, United States Navy. For distinguished gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, as the leader of a special reconnaissance element with Naval Special Warfare Task Unit Afghanistan on 27 and 28 June 2005. While leading a mission to locate a high-level anti-coalition militia leader, Lieutenant Murphy demonstrated extraordinary heroism in the face of great danger in the vicinity of Abbottabad, Konar Province, Afghanistan. On 28 June 2005, operating in an extremely rugged enemy-controlled area, Lieutenant Murphy's team was discovered by anti-coalition militia sympathizers who revealed their position to Taliban fighters. As a result, between 30 and 40 enemy fighters received their four-member team. Demonstrating exceptional resolve, Lieutenant Murphy valiantly led his men in engaging the large enemy force. The ensuing fierce firefight resulted in numerous enemy casualties as well as the wounding of all four members of his team. Ignoring his own wounds and demonstrating exceptional composure, Lieutenant Murphy continued to lead and encourage his men. When the primary communicator fell mortally wounded, Lieutenant Murphy repeatedly attempted to call for assistance for his beleaguered teammates. Realizing the impossibility of communicating in the extreme terrain, and in the face of almost certain death, he fought his way into an open terrain to gain a better position to transmit a call. This deliberate, heroic act deprived him of cover, exposing him to direct enemy fire. Finally achieving contact with his headquarters, Lieutenant Murphy maintained his exposed position while he provided his location and requested immediate support for his team. In his final act of bravery, he continued to engage the enemy until he was mortally wounded, gallantly giving his life for his country and for the cause of freedom. By his selfless leadership, courageous actions, and extraordinary devotion to duty, Lieutenant Murphy reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service.
That pretty much sums it up there, Mike Murphy's sacrifice. You know, whether you agree with the war or not, you know, they answered the call. And these elite fighters, these Navy SEALs, they go through a rigorous training at BUDS that I mean, today we criticize our military, but let me tell you something. Ain't no LGBTQ or any woman or anybody going to go through 10 weeks of BUDS. I'm going to tell you that right now. Let alone even think they're going to make it to Hell Week, to get through Hell Week. I mean, it's a disgrace how our military has taken a black eye today over the years lately because of the liberal nonsense. I was on my show last week. We had a veteran on my show get called out and told he was not a veteran of the Vietnam War, which absolutely is a disgrace and disgusting for anyone to do that, to discredit a veteran and to tell them that they didn't serve or they're a fake veteran is absolutely appalling. Appalling. Never, ever, ever. That is a disgrace to do that to a veteran who put their life on the line and give their life, especially a Vietnam veteran. And for anyone to call out any veteran, to call him fake, or to criticize any veteran, is just disgusting. And I'll tell you right now, if any person ever did that in front of me, you know, I got arrested for a barroom brawl in New Haven, Connecticut. You know, Tell me something. You try to insult us, or try to insult a veteran, or try to insult any, especially SEALs or any veteran. You're hitting the floor, pal. And let come what comes. But what happened to that American pride? Where is that American spirit in all Americans today? Our flag getting burnt, people stepping on our flag. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us as a country? Have you not any honor? Have you not any courage anymore? What would we do if we were invaded? What would it be like? Who would, I mean, I just wonder, what is America about anymore? Do we have any courage or heart anymore? The people of this country? It makes me wonder sometimes, how deep do we have to go and dig for us to find our spirit again? I remember 9/11, how united we were as a country. Remember? Out there, how united. Does anybody remember 9/11? What happened after 9/11? How united we were as a country? And that unity has just disappeared. It's disappeared. Why? Does it take another 9/11 to unite us again? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't matter what problems we face internally, but as a country as a whole, can we come together again and stand up to tyranny, stand up to corruption? Corruption. We all know it exists. We know what's going on. We see it. We hear it. But none of us are doing nothing about it. And I wonder. And I just really wonder. What's happened to America? I mean, is it all for naught what we sacrificed, the people that have been called to duty? Is it all for naught? I don't know. Let me see if I got anybody here who wants to participate on the call here real quick here before I go into anything else. Let's see here. We'll go to 323. You're first at 330. 323. Go ahead.
Well, hello, Joe. This is Joe. How you doing?
Hey.
Long time no hear.
Yeah, I haven't talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, we should get together more often, actually. Yeah. Well, I'm telling you. Seeing
Sometimes
you
it feels
10
like we're
minutes
the only
ago.
ones doing anything,
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're right about the vets. I'm a vet. And the vets, we are a mistreated people. We are ones that have been neglected. The federal government doesn't give a rat's ass about us. Most people don't give a rat's ass about vets. They just feel, well, you're a man, that's your duty, so go do it. So that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
remember 9/11,
the Navy
Joe?
SEAL.
Remember 9/11?
Huh?
You remember 9/11? How united we were after 9/11? Remember that?
Yeah. For only a few minutes, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But it was nice, though, for that few minutes, wasn't it? Knowing that your fellow Americans had your back no matter what. It was about country. It was like a blind love. Who cares? We're gonna go get him.
Yeah.
Right.
I just wish Bush wasn't the president, but he was. So,
I know.
What can you do?
I know.
Hey, did I give you enough time? Did I give you enough time to talk tonight?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
I did.
I wanted to observe, listen, and hear, what was going on, and
all right,
good feedback. And we got some other callers that called in, which was good. And that's a great thing to have more people contribute.
Yeah. So getting back to the vets is a very important thing with me too, being that I am one. I don't consider myself a hero. Some people talk to me and say, thank you for your service, and I say thanks, but I had a nice cushy job. I had an air-conditioned office. I had a heated office during the wintertime. It's the people who were in country, during the Nam era. They're the ones who are the heroes. They're the ones who sacrificed their lives. They're the ones who answered the call to duty. And for what? For what? All wars are bullshit. Yeah,
you're right. I got some other people here want to jump in here, so I'll bring them on real quick if you don't mind. I got 503-330. Let's bring 330 on next here real quick. 330 or 5. Let's bring them both on. How about that? 503.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hey, it's Lorianne here.
All right. Who's 330?
Long time no talk.
Yeah.
Real Rogue American, Dave Stanley.
Oh,
Joe,
hey, how you doing, Dave? How you doing?
Good, buddy. Good. Hey, I want to say something. You're talking about 9/11, and my father was a Marine Corps drill instructor, so I had the nice life as a child. You can only imagine. But the fact when I watched 9/11, and when I got out of high school, I became a union iron worker. So I was doing high-rise buildings, doing the steel. I was called a connector. Would I climb up, shimmy up the beam, sit on a spud wrench, wait for the crane to swing in a piece, connect it, bolt it up, climb to the next one, up and up and up and up.
Yep.
When I saw those planes hit those buildings, I said, bullshit. Bullshit. All bullshit. Those
Did
buildings,
you see the planes hit the buildings, Dave? Did you see them? I mean, were there actually, because everyone says planes hit the buildings, and others say no planes hit the buildings.
Hey, I know for a fact, structurally, those buildings are designed to take that impact, number one. Number two, that jet fuel cannot burn hot enough, because I've worked at LTV in the steel mill. It does not melt steel. It doesn't get hot enough. And to watch the footprint that they fall down in is controlled demolition all the way. If you've ever seen something fall down in Las Vegas when they put up a new casino or something, a hotel, identical. 1,000%. And I can't believe for the life of me, it took so long for so many people to realize that's some serious shit that just happened. And then World Trade Center 7, did then they get hit by a plane and fell the same way?
Building 7, Building 7,
Yeah,
Building 7 came
fires.
down.
From office fires and some phone books and some telephones burning. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
For the first time in history did a building like that ever fall supposedly from office fires. Come on now.
I swear to God.
And the sad
I've
thing is most people don't even know about World Trade Center 7.
Nope.
Yeah.
I've wanted someone like Donald Trump or somebody that had a lot of money to actually put together, if they were so pissed off at this government that's done us wrong. I believe that the Israeli Mossad, I think, is behind most of what's happened in 9/11. I think if somebody was to build an identical building, you don't have to put all the the miscellaneous crap in it, but structurally to build that World Trade Center building that got hit by a plane and fly a plane into it remotely, what you get, it'd still be standing there. I believe that wholeheartedly with every.
Yeah. How were the buildings taken down? We know that they were Saudi Arabia. They were Saudi Arabian people on the flight. We know that. They Saudi Arabia. So we can't say it was Jewish people or anything like that. They were Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Then we know Saudi Arabians don't like Jews, so we can't say Israel was responsible for this, okay? So for all the people out there saying the Jews blew up the buildings, I don't think they didn't blow up the buildings.
I'm talking about the Mossad. The Israeli Mossad, their intelligence group. I mean, you got the group of guys that got stopped in the van that nobody ever talks about, the group that was standing on the bridge watching, like cheering, getting ready for it. Being videotaped.
Well, a lot of people were watching.
Happened.
Well, Dave, I want to say this though.
I mean,
the Saudi Arabians that did do this. Look, there's a lot more to the World Trade Center than people know. They have to understand that the bankruptcy, the bonds for the entire country.
Yeah, look who owned it. How he got out of it.
We're in the basement.
That guy that owned it, Silverstein, right? Is that his name? Silverstein?
He owned Building 7. He owned Building 7. I don't know who owned it. World Trade Center.
Yeah, and he bought it, a month prior? That's just so much bullshit with that stuff, And the crazy thing is, you talk to the people, you watch some of the shows, these guys couldn't fly a Cessna plane. They couldn't take off in one, let alone land one. So now you're going to talk about these guys are flying high-tech planes at a low altitude, where actually, if it would have happened, they say now that those planes would not fly that low that fast, they'd get tore apart. Well, I don't know. I'm not a pilot.
It's interesting that this turned this subject that I'm paying tribute here to Operation the war in Afghanistan. It was obviously over the Caspian oil pipeline,
right.
And the poppy fields and everything. Yeah, we got all that. We lost a lot of good lives in Afghanistan. A lot of good men for what? For what? You know, I agree.
Right.
But the point being is that they still answered the call of duty, believing in fighting for it. Look, if I'm a soldier, hey, look, hey, Gibson, you're on your way. I'm fighting for America. That's what I think. I'm going to follow orders. And
Joe made a comment. He thinks, someone says thanks for his service, and he thinks, well, he had a cushy job. I don't give a shit if he had a cushy job or not. He stepped up and signed up, unless he was drafted, and even then, you volunteered to die for your country, regardless if you're pushing a pencil or you're shooting a rifle. Regardless.
Yeah.
These people today don't have that. They don't have that.
I know.
They couldn't last a week. They couldn't last a day at Bud's, let alone they couldn't make it in the Marine Corps boot camp. Are you lost your fucking mind? I'm sorry, excuse my French.
Could they last at all in any? I know basic. I wonder what basic's like today. Now I wonder what it's like. In the military.
I've seen a lot of shit where they talk about they've increased the weight, they've increased the age, they've dropped down the what your goals are, what your run time has to be, your minimum maximum push-ups. I don't even think you have to do a pull-up. They've completely made it weak.
Can't even do a pull-up.
The Army does, I think, accepts up to 45 years old now. They're hurting so bad for recruits.
Well,
I just saw today a good documentary.
Yeah.
They got documentary about
10 weeks. The 10 weeks. Yeah, well, the 10 weeks when you get to Hell Week is you get no sleep at all. I think it's cut down like 4 hours and like 52 minutes or something, and they got it all narrowed out where it's insane. It's insane. I mean, it's almost
they try to break you. They want to know if you can keep your mind right, because physically they'll fix you. They'll do what you got to do. But are you mentally tough enough to take that breakdown?
Yeah.
And still function.
Well, when I was in the Navy, right? When I went in and like I said, I was in a barroom fight in New Haven, Connecticut. I remember went with. I had 6 of my buddies. 6 of them were Navy SEALs, and I had two were in the Corps. There was about 10 of us. I forgot the other 2 guys. I don't know if they were what they were. I think they might have been Air Force. I'm not sure. I don't know, but they were. But we walked back. They were just black coming around. Well, we just all went up. We all took a trip. It's a long story. I'm not gonna get into personal details of my life, but we were in a bar in New Haven, and we tore that place apart, man. It was crazy. I mean, the owner was running for his life. I remember it was Sullivan's Bar on Ferry Street in New Haven, Connecticut. And,
gotta be Irish.
It was in a black guy neighborhood. It was a black neighborhood, so it probably was a little racial, or whatever. We were white guys coming in there, and I'm not gonna lie, but one of our guys was black, so I don't know. We thought that was justified, maybe. I don't know. But man, we started over a pool game, and that was it, man.
That's
balls
it, right?
Flying. People were screaming.
It had to be a woman. It had to be a pool table involved.
Yeah, I busted a stick right over a guy's back of his head, man. He didn't even go down. Huh?
It wasn't other servicemen you fought, just people that's regular civilians, right?
No, we were service. That's how I got kicked out. All this, and they disbanded. They you look it up. It's on the internet. They got disbanded. The SEAL team that I was with, actually, they got disbanded. The class of '93.
You were fighting regular citizens. I'm saying you weren't fighting other guys. In the military.
No. Well, it was a black biker gang. It was a black biker gang. It was a black biker bar, and we went in there, and I was like, it's a black, and they were a gang, so we're like, we're going in there, we're gonna start some shit, we ain't gonna have this, So we thought we were tough and everything, and I was stupid, we were young and dumb and full of what, and and we thought we were gonna do our thing, and we ended up going to jail and getting arrested big time, and it was huge.
I watched this documentary today. This documentary I watched today about Pat Tillman, one of the guys that was actually involved with what happened to him. And I heard a lot of different stories. I saw his mom.
Yeah, I heard his stories. I don't know him too well.
I don't know him friendly fire, but it ended up being friendly fire apparently. But the way it was portrayed, I thought, man, it sounded like he was actually executed or assassinated, the way it sounded from certain stories. But today I listened to a guy that was actually in the group. And the Humvees that actually got split up, and then they ended up in a gorge or a valley, And when they got split up, they were like 15 minutes behind Pat Tillman's 3 or 4 Humvees that they were in. And it went south that way because they had been set up by one of the drivers. They had to have a mechanic work on something, and they found somebody in their local deal where they were at. And this guy, they all planned it. They were looking to get him to trap them in that gorge, all of them, and kill them all. But they actually,
there was a lot of gun running and a lot of corruption that went on over there. Especially after the Desert Storm, the first one with Desert Storm, and then and Iraqi freedom and all that, and and they went in, and it was all corruption, and the first war. Bush, he should have just finished the job. He shouldn't have pulled back and then allowed, I don't know what he was thinking. If anyone remembers that, the Desert Storm, how it went, we were just kicking their ass,
Right.
And that's when I signed up at that time. Yeah.
That was 1990.
1991, 1990. Yeah, it was 1991.
Yeah, because I graduated in
February
1991. I remember it starting.
And
this kid was talking about how they took statements from everybody that survived what had happened there with Tillman, and some of the guys didn't actually write anything down. And when they got back to their forward base, it was kind of forgotten about. Well, when they got back stateside, they knew that they had not written a statement. And this kid was talking about he had someone offered, or somebody came up with a general or something and said, I'd like to talk to you about what happened. How we're going to handle this, through the media and whatnot. And somebody had written his own statement and signed his name, but it was actually his signature. So somebody doctored up some shit, some serious shit is what happened. And I guess that's when his brother, Tillman's brother, went off the Richter scale and exposed a lot of shit that was going on. And I think I heard about even Hillary Clinton being involved in that shit. And that was in 2008, I think.
Wow.
And you were talking about 2005 with those guys from the...
Operation. Well, this is what happened with that. You see, that's political. You see, they were supposed to have the Apaches were supposed to back them up when the rescue team went in, and they went in with the Chinooks, and they didn't have no backup, and that's when the RPG hit the helicopter and it wiped out the Navy SEALs all one shot, boom, killed them all instantly.
I know exactly. I heard this now. That spirals off of Pat Tillman stuff.
No, that had nothing to do with Pat Tillman, but that shows that shows the politics of the war. That was the politics of the war, and they had the Apaches available. They were they said troops in contact. Anyone who was in contact, they had priority.
Everybody was on a Chinook, and they they had no help. No backup. You were exactly right. And
they flew in there blind.
And actually, the RPG exploded inside.
Well, there's rumors. Well, hang on. There's rumors that were saying that the pilots were told, "Who cares? Just go," because Marcus sent the message, or they got the Murphy's message got through the Bagram base, and they were like, "Just go. Who cares? We don't need backup. Let's go rescue them." And they just flew in there blind, and then the RPG hit them. They were getting fire anyway from the Taliban underneath. So, and they shouldn't have done that. That was a bad call, whoever did that. But anyway, it's still, they were killed. That's a horrible way to go, man. I mean, it was just a bad operation.
I mean, that whole team died.
Why they sent? But you see, you don't understand that they didn't. I mean, it just was a bad area. There's no communication. You're in.
Right.
The mountains up there are so they're inclined. The mountain, you can't get no communications, and so they lost communication so many times, and that wasn't nothing new. Like in the movie, they say, "Oh, if you miss three, then they go, search for them." No, that's not true. That's all Hollywood talking about that crap. There was no communication at all when they dropped them in there, but they were flying in there blind all the time. They just had to make sure they were at the rally points for pickup. And we lost a lot of good soldiers that way from those rendezvous, wherever they lost communication. So it's see, the movie, people who watch the movies, they think that's the way it happened. Yeah. That's not the way none of that crap went down. You know, it's like totally false
Have you
on
ever
how that
listened to,
happened. Like them
Jocko?
jumping off the mountain and everything. That's not how it happened. They didn't jump off the mountain and roll down the hill and then come all back together again. Oh my God, I'm shot! You know, shoving dirt in their wounds and everything. That's not how it happened. It don't go down like that. You get shot, you're gonna know. You know,
Right.
So
you ever listen to Jocko Willink?
It was bad.
You know who Jocko Willink is?
Yeah, I know who that is. Who's out there? Who's out there on the line right now? Who else do we got out there? Is anyone else out there pressing want to talk about this? Yeah, I know Lorianne is out there, but Joe, he dropped. Sarge, where's Sarge at? Sarge out there listening? He's a veteran. Sarge is a veteran, so I'm surprised he's not listening to this one. You know, so
I think he said that he needed to take us for a walk before he called in, so I'm sure he'll show up.
Yeah, well, I was talking about him the other night with that guy Warren that calls into shows. He said Sarge is a fake Vietnam vet. That right there, I thought about that afterwards. I was like, man, that's dead wrong for him to say something like that.
That's
you can get your ass whooped for
your
that.
ass kicked right there.
Yeah,
you don't say
that's
that
not
kind
right.
of shit because the only reason we can do what we do is because of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, you don't do that. I felt really bad because it was my show he did it on, and you know, and I don't mute people or hang up on people.
And Sarge,
it's just not
furious,
right.
and I don't blame him. You know, I mean, you think people that sit around and don't do shit and then bitch and complain all day, but yet they never actually jumped up and served. And if he had served, that's another story. Then he can say what he can have that conversation with someone that has. But you can't sit back and be a keyboard cowboy or on the other landline.
Oh, that's what we got today. Keyboard cowboys. I think I see Adam out there on the phone line. It might be Adam. I'm not sure if that's his number. Adam's a Navy guy. I don't know what years Adam served. I don't know what years he served actually. I know he's a veteran though. So I don't know if you're listening, Adam, if you want to contribute or not tonight. But I'm talking about Operation Red Wings, and the tragedy there. And this is the anniversary of it. It happened in June of 2005. It was June 22nd when it happened. The media says June 28th. That's when they reported it, but it actually happened June 22nd.
Right.
I would like to get. I'll tell you. I'd like to get him on the show. I might be able to get him on Marcus Luttrell. That would be a good podcast. I might be able to get him on. I did a show years ago where I had veterans come on, where we were all going over to Syria to fight ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
And I had it was on the O'Reilly Factor. I had Sean Rowe, a bunch of other people. It's one of my old podcast shows. I got it if anybody wants to listen to it. It's me and Sean Rowe were talking about gathering up, and he was on the O'Reilly Factor, and we were gathering up veterans, special ops guys, and we were going to go over to Syria and take on ISIS and rescue Christians that were getting their heads chopped off over there. And the Obama administration shut it down. They shut us down flat out. They said, you go over there, you'll be arrested. As soon as you come back and hit U.S. soil, you'll be arrested. So we had to shut it down. So we were on the O'Reilly Factor and everything. So they remember Bill O'Reilly, that show they had, the O'Reilly Factor on Fox News?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were on there.
You know what ISIS stands for? You know what ISIS stands for? What the meaning of ISIS is?
Scumbag Habibs.
No.
Some kind of
Israeli
Muslim crap,
secret,
I don't know.
Hey, it's the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service.
Yeah, but they're against Jews, though. They hate Jews. They
it's
hate
not
Christians
about
and
Jews. These people are just they're the Mossad and them guys are just they hate everybody. They hate everybody.
Well, yeah, but they're kind of like
Muslims,
gone now.
Jews.
So ISIS
no, they're
is
not.
pretty much wiped out now.
Shit.
Yeah, they're
Are
gone.
You crazy? No.
Yeah, Trump pretty much wiped them all out.
They're the ones running.
Oh, you still got radicals
show.
over there. You still got radicals over there. Yeah, you always have radicals, but they're not organ. They don't have like they had back in the early 2000s and 2007, 2008, where they had the strength and numbers that they had. I mean, they don't have that anymore.
Would you want to go over to Afghanistan today after Biden left over $80 billion worth of equipment for him?
No, I would not. But anyway, let me read this quick article about here. Operation Red Wings was a combined joint military operation conducted in the Peck district of Kunar province of Afghanistan. It has become known for the heavy loss suffered for U.S. Navy SEALs on June 28, 2005. The 4-man SEAL team was sent on a reconnaissance mission to locate an HVT, high valuable target, that's in parentheses, at the unforgiving altitude of approximately 10,000 feet. Deep behind enemy lines, a very committed 4-man SEAL team had a vital task. They were after Ahmad Shah, a cruel insurgent in his mid-30s who grew up in the same mountains. He was also known as Muhammad Ismail Guerrilla Group to locals as the Mountain Tigers. They had connections with the Taliban and other militant groups close to the Pakistani border. Ahmad Shah was known to be the HVT behind numerous attacks on American forces. Although there were other HVTs with more blood on their hands and considered to be bigger fish, he was a major HVT for Operation Red Wings. And basic details, a 4-man recon element comprised of Lieutenant Murphy, HM1 Marcus Luttrell, STG2 Matthew G. Axel, and GM2 Danny Dietz. I knew Danny Dietz, actually. I didn't know Axel. I knew who Danny Dietz was inserted via fast rope at approximately 27:17 to conduct a sensitive recon SR mission. Okay, so let me see here. Under the assumed name Muhammad Ismail Shah led a guerrilla group known to locals as the Mountain Tigers, aligned with the Taliban and other militant groups close to the Pakistani border. The SEAL mission was compromised when the local nationals spotted the team. Okay, this is the truth behind what happened. They were the comps were compromised at the time, and they were going to break down because they had the rendezvous in 12 hours. So they broke down communications and all spread out. And they usually go in about a 15-yard up and down diagonal way, okay, no matter how many men you have there. They only have 4. So you figure you got one guy, and then you go up. It's like picture an M or a W. So that's how they were stationed sitting on the mountain. What happened was these goat herders were coming and walking their goats, and they tripped over the foot of Marcus Luttrell. And when he tripped over the foot, the ground underneath Marcus gave way, and they fell down the side of the mountain like about 15 yards. And then, so they grabbed the kid and the other guy. There was only 2 in the movie. It picked 3. There was only 2, and they were going to kill the kid and kill the old man that was with them. But they had to talk amongst themselves. They were like, "We can't do this. No, you can't do that. That's not the right thing to do." So anyway, they were gonna. What I would have done if I was lieutenant and I was in charge, I would have said, "Let's bring him with us." They compromised the mission, bring him with us. Well, they decided to cut him loose, and they cut him loose. Well,
they did wrong.
Some of the bitches ran down the mountain so fast, and the Hajis, they can't. The Hajis, they're fast on those mountains. They walk around with sandals and crap.
Hell yeah!
But anyway, they went. Yeah, well, there's about 200 to 300 of them down there, and they got up that mountain fast, and that was it. It was a firefight. So, but a fierce firefight erupted between. A fierce firefight interrupted between the 4 SEALs and a much larger enemy force of more than 50. That's not true. It's like 250. 50 anti-coalition insurgents. The enemy had the SEALs outnumbered. They also had terrain advantage. They launched a well-organized 3-sided attack on the SEALs, which they did do. They surrounded them. The firefight continued relentlessly as the overwhelming insurgents forced the SEALs deeper into the ravine. Trying to reach safety, the 4 men, now each wounded, began bounding down the mountain's steep sides, making leaps of 20 to 30 feet. Approximately 45 minutes into the fight, pinned down or overwhelming force, Danny Dietz, communications petty officer, sought an open air to place a distress call back to the base. But before he could, he was shot in the hand. The blast shattering his thumb. Despite the intensity of the firefight, suffering a grave gunshot wounds himself, team leader Michael Murphy is credited with risking his own life to save the lives of his teammates. Murphy intent on making contact with headquarters, but realizing that this would be impossible in the extreme terrain where they were fighting unhesitatingly and with complete disregard for his own life, moved into the open where he could make and gain better position to transmit a call to help for his men. And where he was also killed and shot. And nobody ever found his body, by the way, either. So They got, it's just crazy, man. And then, well, anyway, let's get to the rescue attempt. An MH Chinook helicopter with 8 additional SEALs. Lies. That's not true. There were 16 on the chopper. SEALs and 8 Army Night Stalkers. Lies. 8 Night Stalkers were on the other chopper. Aboard, led by Lieutenant Commander Eric Christensen, which he died, was sent as a part of a extraction mission to pull out the 4 embattled Navy SEALs. The Chinook was escorted by heavily armor attack helicopters. No, lie. They were not escorted by any Army attack helicopters. Another lie. Entering a hot combat zone, attack helicopters are usually initially to neutralize the enemy and make it safer for the light armored personnel transport helicopters to insert. The attack helicopters' heavyweight slowed and formation advantage, prompting the MH to outrun their armored escort. Listen to how they lie, man. This is one of these lies. I didn't even read this article. I can't believe it. They knew tremendous risk of going into an active enemy area in daylight. So what they're just saying is that they outran their backup. So they were careless by doing that. They outran their backup and got there first. That's what happened. No, their backup never backed them up. That's what happened. All right? So, man, they lie. So, anyway, it was hit by a RPG, the Chinook, and that was it. That was the end of them. So, if 8, listen to what they're saying now. There were 16 SEALs killed that day, right? So, if there was 8 and 8 Army on one and 8 SEALs on one, right? So, and there was 8 SEALs on another and 8 Army on the other. Then why did 16 SEALs die? Because only one chopper got hit and the other one got back. So how did the Army guys survive and all the SEALs die? Would the 8 jump over to the other helicopter before it got hit?
I know, but you just said, too, that they're back. You said they outran their backup, but they were in the Chinook. They're not outrunning the Apache in the Chinook.
There was 8 they're saying. They're saying the 8 Nighthawks. Yeah, I know. There were 16 SEALs that got killed that day. 16, all right? So 16. Yeah. But they're saying 8 Nighthawks and 8 SEALs were on one chopper, and 8 SEAls and 8 Nighthawks were on the other. That's not true, because only one chopper went down, and it killed 16 SEAls. So 16 SEAls must have been on it, not 8 and 8. You know what I mean? There were 16 SEAls, not 8 Army and not 8 SEAls.
But you said they outran their backup, so I'm thinking their backup was the Apaches that were coming or were with them. How did they outrun those?
They didn't outrun their damn backup. They didn't come. They were grounded. Right. I remember, that's the only part of the movie that was freaking true when you said this is bullshit.
A Chinook ain't going to outrun a fucking snowman.
They did not want to blow that base up. They were only supposed to get reconnaissance pictures to see that guy was there. That was it. You know what? He should have took the shot and killed the damn son of a bitch right up top of the mountain. You know, right from there and killed the son of a bitch. Damn.
If you ever see how those people live in those mountains on those sides of those hills like that, oh my God! I mean, they can scale those things like nothing.
They're cavemen. They hate America. They hate Western values. They hate us. They hate us. They hate us. You know.
You know what though?
And feelings mutual.
Exactly. Stay over there. Mind your own business. Stay in your lane, and we'll stay over here. You don't want our shit. We surely don't want yours. You guys want to eat
323. I'll bring you on. 323. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
323.
I just came back. I had to go get something to eat.
323.
Yeah, I just came back. I had to go get something to eat.
Oh, who's this?
Joe.
Joe. Okay. I didn't recognize you while you were eating there.
That might muffle the sound a little bit.
What do you think? I'm getting ready to play this. Hang on. Oh, I got this up right now. Let me play this real quick. Let me see if this will play. Hang on.
They're just pinning each other against each other. I mean, it's just the same thing. It's all nonsense. I mean, I play a thing on here about that, and it goes over that, the Republican and Democratic Party. It's like 3 minutes long. I mean, it's just it's a scam. You have to go after the Federal Reserve, the money, and you have to abolish the Fed and the Fed. I mean, you have to first audit the Fed and find out where the money is and where it's gone and where all the gold has been stolen and hijacked to. That's what you got to do. But let me check the boards here, go over here, check for callers. Get back over here, scroll up and down. All right, first I got 2 callers here. So let me go with the private caller first. Private caller, you're unmuted. Private caller. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, you're off then. All right, 5009. Go ahead. You're on now. Go ahead.
Hey, Joe, it's Eddie.
Hey, Eddie, how you doing? I thought I recognized the number. I didn't know for sure. I got like 3 509s that sometimes call in, but now I know it's you. How you been doing?
I'm all right. I was just listening to some of the stuff there you were talking about, from Tucker Carlson. And, it's one of those things where people don't have to be the ghost of Stonewall Jackson to put 2 and 2 together. It's just, a crazy world we're living in with liberal policies, democratic policies. And I think he's right, though, when he said that stupid people took control of this country. Don't believe me? Just look around. I mean, there's plenty of people driving in their cars, going to the store, or going to the gas station with their windows up all by themselves, wearing 2 masks on their face. If that's not a sign that you're stupid, I don't know what is.
You got that right. Passing out like oxygen.
Right.
Too.
Something. I mean, it's just moronic.
What can we do? I know when we talked over there on the other platform, the NSM and whatnot, we say, join the NSM and fight. I mean, but what can we really do out there also? I mean, what can people, the average everyday Joe Schmo out there, what can they do? I mean, voting these people out isn't going to work. I mean, we've been playing that now since the founding of this country, What can we really do?
Well, I think one of the things that people should take a major consideration in 2 regards is, one, our nation's tax system. At the end of the year when people pay taxes and you get a tax return, technically you shouldn't even get a return. That's proof that the government has fucked you all year long.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be allowed to fly. And then the payroll tax, that needs to be done away with. Instead of working more and making less, you should only be paying into Social Security and Medicaid, period. And even Social Security, that's debatable, and it's an unpopular subject for most, but realistically, just about every president and every elected body in this country historically has used Social Security funds to fund their own private war. Vietnam, I keep going. And they've never put the money back in, and that's why they're worrying by 2035, Social Security will be tanked. There will be no more money, period.
That's what I heard. I heard the same thing. It'll be completely depleted. And what happens? I think they'll print more money though and add more money to the tank. I mean, you got to remember the Federal Reserve prints the money. So what they do is they buy these bonds, these off the market, and what they do is they then dump it. They sell the bonds to the Treasury Department, and then they float them on the market and adjust the interest rates. It's a money game. It's the money changers.
It's racketeering
and they screw with the money.
That's what it is. It's racketeering and extortion on a government-sponsored level. And most people don't even realize that the Federal Reserve isn't even a part of the federal government in the first place. It's a private entity.
Right.
It's not regulated. There's no oversight. There's no bipartisan. There's nothing to keep that in check, and that's where our deficit comes from. And a lot of these politicians, they can't seem to understand in real life, outside of politics, when you mismanage your funds, you either run the risk of bankruptcy and or foreclosure if you're paying a mortgage, or if you default on your monthly rent, you get evicted. Well, they don't understand that because they own everything. So with these policies that they implement, they don't feel it. Yeah.
Well, this is what it says, though, Eddie, real quick, though. It says the Federal Reserve conducts the nation's monetary policy by managing the level of short-term interest rates and influencing the availability and cost of credit in the economy. Monetary policy directly affects interest rates. It indirectly affects stock prices, wealth, and currency exchange rates. Yeah,
sure.
That's like me putting a mask on and just pretending to be something.
Right.
It's not real.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think another way to show, both parties, Republican and Democrat, that the jig is up is just imagine. Now, I don't think it'll ever happen, but just imagine. If you can encourage enough people on a national level, come elections, to not a single citizen casting a ballot. Well, they can't remain in office because there's a term limit there.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So it'd be, well, look, this is what we want, and if we don't get it, then we're going to have empty seats all around.
There you go. Yeah. But
no, I don't think it'll happen, but it's a start. Right. It's a start, though. And I think the only people that would vote still are your government dependents, i.e. minorities.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, then they'd vote all Democrat, all right across the board.
Mm-hmm.
What are the five What are the five responsibilities of the Federal Reserve? I mean, I know it's got 4 or 5. I know it's for the conducting monetary policy, obviously, promoting financial stability. I remember that one, and then promoting consumer protection.
Right.
You know, and
but the problem is there's no consumer protection, period, because proof of the inflation you see at the store and the gas pump.
That's right, exactly. Look, they monopolize, they deflate and inflate the currency. They play the game. They play us. We're like puppets. They're pulling the string. Hey, you know, I vote Republican. I vote Democrat. Hey, wait a second. There's one guy holding up puppets. You know, like I play that thing. You know, shut up and go back to bed, America. Your government's in control.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
Come on.
That's how it is, and it's sad that most people, you know, can't really figure that out for themselves. Like I've had conversations with friends and family about this very thing, and you know, like for example, my father, he's a Democrat, aka a communist. He just doesn't know he's a communist, which that in itself is ironic. And when it comes to me asking him, okay, well, Biden's been in office for 47 years. Give me 5 positive things he's done. I mean, if he's done 47 years, you figure you can come up with more than 5, right?
Yeah.
One a year.
And he can't.
Exactly.
He can't come up with anything.
Wow. What's he say to that?
Well, he's like, well, you know, unlike Biden, you know, he doesn't have all these scandals like Trump did and, you know, the Russia collusion. And I'm like, what collusion? It's been debunked. It's been completely debunked by 3 separate investigations.
Ukraine.
Right. The same thing. Same thing. They don't have an answer for that. And then when you press them, they're like, oh, well, you know, I got to go do something. I can't talk about it no more. That's how it works. And it's ironic because people have to understand the Democratic Party of today is not your grandfather's Democratic Party of then.
That's true. Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, back then it was ran by the back 100 years ago, the Klan ran the Democratic Party. You know,
basically.
I mean, they had, you know, pretty much. I mean, 1920 is what the Klan had over 20 million supporters, 6 million members. You know, that was at the peak there, and then of course it faded away after the scandals in Indiana and whatnot. But
and with the Democratic Party, the irony of it is even today in 2021, if you fast forward, right, the average person, if you say, hey, you know, the Democratic Party helped create and was run by the Ku Klux Klan, they say, oh, that's just right-wing propaganda. No, it's actually legit.
Yep. Yeah. No, they say it today, Eddie. They say it today.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And then you say, well, hey, you know, well, what did the Democratic Party do for minorities? Oh, well, the Democratic Party gave the Emancipation Proclamation Act, and that's the Republicans.
Well,
so you got that one wrong too. So that's 2.
Yeah. I tell you what, I got one thing though for you. I think though some of these people, these trolls over there, are probably going to try to come over to the NSM platform now that they got something to chomp on, you know, and they're going to come over there and try to agitate. Because I got like 30 emails sent about let's see, what was it? About 25, not 30, 25 emails or messages on Facebook talking junk and about the show the other night and whatnot, and you know, and these are the trolls, you know. It's like, yeah, go ahead, go over there, you know. I mean, do whatever you're gonna do. What? Why are you bringing this up to me? That's what I asked them, you know. But I don't know. What did you get any flack because of your call that night? Because you're a straight up guy. You'll tell me the truth regardless. You don't care what anybody says. Did you get any kickback?
I haven't gotten anything.
Good. You
know, I made my position clear on how I felt about it, and you know, that's just me. I can speak for me. First of all, I don't have any other person speak on my behalf. I speak for me.
That's right.
And that's my thing. And if on our show on Tuesday, you know, because I can't speak for everybody else, but if people want to ask us, well, hey, you know, well, why isn't Joe on your all's platform on Thursdays? Well, you know, just simply put, we parted ways due to creative differences, and leave it at that.
There you go.
That's just
but
being
you're going to have agitators, though. Yeah, you're going to have some agitators.
Sure,
like,
that's everybody.
You know, but you know, you know what? It makes for good podcasting anyway, in a way. You know,
it's controversy, and controversy generates listening, Chip.
That's right. That's right. You and I actually talked about that. Actually, we were going to do a show actually where we were going to try to play devil's advocate role, because you're a strong-willed person. You believe in what you believe, and we just have that go back and forth type of thing. Not argue, but have a discussion where sometimes we disagree.
Dialogue.
Yes.
Right.
And that would have been great, man. That would have been really great.
Right.
I mean, I think
you just don't get that nowadays with too many people. It's always this or that or something in between. I'm not a bullshit kind of person. I call it like it is, and I call a spade a spade. Truth hurts. If you don't like it, tough luck.
Yeah. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out,
to the you're right, yeah, no shit. Then in regards to the UFO things, now this is where I'm going to play devil's advocate,
right.
Because I remember you saying, you don't personally believe in UFOs, and no, people, that's not me saying I'm a UFO enthusiast, and yes, there's life in the universe. No, that's not me saying that. Just want to make that clear. But you can't really say from a biblical standpoint, well, I accept it as this. But then from an unexplained partial scientific aspect, dismiss it. Because the church did that to a certain group historically, and because they tried to put a scientific explanation to, quote, acts of God, they were hunted down and murdered.
What group was, educate me on that? Bring me back a little bit in history. What was this? There were several groups that happened.
Sure. Yeah, there was several. One of the prominent ones, and a lot of people, when I say this, are like, oh, here we go with this one. No conspiracy theories intended. But, for example, the Illuminati, for example. A group of scientists, scholars, philosophers, trying to put explanations to unexplained events. And back then, to go against the church was to go against God. And if you did so, well, you were executed, found guilty by a kangaroo court, and you were executed. And that's how the church dealt with dissension, or treason, as they called it.
Yeah. Well, the Bible addresses it, though. It does talk about it, but I just don't think I would have to disagree with it. On the pastor's day, like, for instance, Isaiah 45:12, it says, I have made the earth and created a man upon it. I even my hands have stretched out the heavens, and all their hosts I have commanded. And then it goes on to say, they came from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his ignorance.
Yeah. Now, listen up. Listen to this now. In about a couple minutes now, I'm going to have an asshole call in. You guys are going to love this. This guy's a real, complete asshole, racist scumbag. Watch, you're going to love this.
Yeah, no, definitely. I totally understand you there. But the thing is if, and that's why I'm saying if, and it's a big fucking if there is life outside of this planet, outside of this solar system, and it comes here, like you said, it debunks God 100%. Because then whole theory of life originating here and not anywhere else, well, that's a difficult reality to swallow. That's a hard pill to take.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
So what happens? So we debunk God. Hang on, we debunk God, right? The rapture happens. Let's just say it's the rapture. Right. The UFO, the aliens say we took them, or the government comes out and they do what their programming does. Hey, the aliens took these people. Don't believe in God. Because you know what happens. Now, this is going to get controversial here now, but you know what happens is that the Antichrist goes over into the temple over there in Jerusalem and builds it, has his idol there, his statue, the abomination idol there, and it speaks. He makes it speak. So what happens is the Red Army comes down from the north, the Antichrist intervenes, but it's really God that intervenes and stops it, stops the army, and the Antichrist takes credit for it, and everybody loves him. Yay! And
and then everybody gets the mark of the beast in order to survive in society, purchase goods, work, live, and then once the final battle comes, they're all cast into the lake of fire for eternity. Because the crazy thing is, 1,000 years in hell is the equivalent of one Earth day, at least from what the Bible says.
That's true.
Which is crazy.
You're right about it. I never looked at it from that standpoint. You're absolutely right. Damn.
I know a little thing or two. Not enough to say I'm a scholar, but I know a thing or two.
1,000 years of suffering.
Hey, I just got someone else jumped on here. I think I recognize the number. So we'll go to 832. Go ahead, 832.
Can you hear me?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Radical Life. This is good old Ron down here in Texas with the steers and clears, as Joe likes to put it on his show, but yet he won't bring his coward ass, rat ass down here to face the steers and clears. So
man, come on now.
About Texas. Oh, you're the one that brought up Texas. So now I'm not a fucking passive, calm, relaxed individual like Eddie. That doesn't mean Eddie can't get aggressive, but he tries to stay on the passive side so that way he doesn't lose his shit. And that's respectable and commendable. Hey, Eddie's a better person than I am. I don't deal in passivity. So, Joe, why don't we get back to your show the other night? Here's a question I have
whatever you want. That's what I said tonight. Sure, why not? Whatever you want to talk about.
Let's try to keep this somewhat civil. I think that we could start this conversation off by agreeing that I think that you are nothing but a low-life parasitic rep.
Okay, that's fine.
So at that point, I think that we can come to a consensus. So,
okay, well, hang on, though. But then this way here so the listeners know, I then, obviously, for stick up for myself, I believe you're a closed-minded, complete imbecile that is ignorant and doesn't know anything about facts. So now there you go. So now we can have the conversation.
Sweet. So now individuals can use, your opening statement, my opening statement, and at the end they can make their own conclusions on who seems to be more factually based within their statements than the other.
Okay.
Correct?
Sounds good to me.
Sweet. Awesome. I love it when it all works that way. You know what? While we're on this, let me go ahead and do the good old redneck thing, and let me grab me a beer while I do this.
That sounds.
I'm going to go ahead and get that
good.
open. First question I have for you while I'm cracking this nice cool-ass Budweiser is this. You claim to be pro-white. You claim all of this other nonsense, and yet you have nigger commercials galore on your fucking podcast. And when I say nigger commercials, I'm talking about commercials promoting and encouraging those of the black community. That really, you're lucky, if I'd have heard any one of your podcasts prior to Thursday night, or whatever fucking night that was, Friday night I think it was, Friday night, your own personal podcast, not in essence, your own personal, if I'd have heard that prior to finding out that you were an informant on Thursday, because I didn't know. I'm going to apologize to Jay because Jay put you on blast and nobody listened to him. And nobody heard him. We all took it as just the same old rhetoric that we hear. And then you turned around and highlighted it and led everybody to the Secret Informant's book.
Well, that's a title now that was given to me now by the publisher now. So it's not really, so I wasn't a secret informant. I went to jail to do time, So and
well,
then
you said that this is a book about you. To go on here, look this book up. This book is about you. That was your word. So whenever I look up a book, as Eddie so eloquently put the other night, when I look up a book and I see the overview, and the overview in the first sentence says the secret life of a secret informant, or whatever, however it was worded, but secret informant being the two main words in there. At that point, that tells a lot.
Okay. So if I'm a police officer, right, and I'm doing undercover work, I'm a scumbag in society. I'm no good. You ain't gonna come over for barbecues. I mean,
let me ask you a question,
is that what
Joe?
you're saying?
Okay. Let me ask you a question, Joe. Were you a police officer undercover doing your job? Yes or no?
I was actually in line and working for them, so I was actually technically insured and was supposed to be paid, and that's why I sued them too. So yeah.
Were you
I was not classified as a police officer. I was classified as something else. And
correct.
I'm not going to say
now, let me ask you this question.
The disclosure agreements.
Did the agreement of you providing information to law enforcement come after law enforcement had caught you up committing a criminal offense?
This is okay. Let me clarify that now. I went to jail because I was caught with stolen computers. They wanted me to rat.
And that's when they came.
Tell them hang on, let me finish. They wanted me to rat on where the computers came from, and I said no, and I took the time and went to jail.
Okay. So then, how did they come to you then later on and ask you to rat again? I don't care about them threatening your family and threatening you. I'm asking just how did they come about?
Oh, they didn't care about the computers anymore. Trust me. They didn't care about the computers after about a year or two. So they were after something else. And like I said, we were going after not the inmates. We were going after the judicial system itself and the setup and the make of how they're going to punish people throughout the system today, and how their drugs were being shipped in. And there were also gang hits that I stopped too. So I did stop that, and I'm glad I did.
Okay, and you know, to each their own, and regardless of whether or not you're glad you stopped gang hits, because the question I would actually go to at that point, since you're so glad that you stopped gang hits, is I would like to look at the future criminal history of those individuals since they weren't allowed to be executed. Since you intervened and played your God,
no man has the right to play God.
Well, let me ask, you know, that's what I'm saying is well, you played God by intervening and stopping nature from taking its course.
No, I was preventing a law from being broken, murder. Okay, and murder is a crime.
So you
and
believe...
if we can't acknowledge that, you know, what kind of society do you want to live in? Would it kill or be killed?
Okay.
I mean, you know, we're a country of laws.
Hold on a minute, Joe. So when an individual kills somebody unjustly, that wasn't part of God's plan?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I don't know what God has planned, to be honest with you. I guess I'll find out when I get up there.
Don't they say that, you know, God has
God's
everything?
plan, then he put me there to stop it. I could use the same argument, you know. And is God so powerful he can't make a rock too big that he can't pick up? I mean, that's a silly argument, you know. I mean, come on. I don't know what God's plan was.
See, that's the problem with your thought process on this one is you're looking at it coming from the exception, and I'm looking at it coming from the rule. If the rule is you behave in this manner and what transpires is what transpires, just like with any other situation, and you're looking at it as, oh, well, I can go in and change the situation, and yet I'm still not playing God. See, you change the situation.
You know what? Hey, you want to use the premise of that thinking?
Hang on,
I'm going to give you the reason why. Let me give you the reason why. Because I told the story the other night, I think. Because a 3-year-old girl was murdered in the crossfire of a gang shooting. And you know what? Maybe you're out there with your kids, Ron, and some gang member wants to pick off another gang member, and they don't hit, and they're bad aimers. We know that. They're not good marksmen. So then they shoot your kid by accident. Wouldn't you want a Joe Gibson there that he could have stopped that from happening?
Well, first and foremost, and I get, you know, the hypothetical that you're trying to ascertain here, but ultimately, I would never allow my children nor myself to be put into an environment in which we are not safe in that regard. So gang shootings don't happen in my neighborhood. Is there?
Where do you live? In Amazon jungle? I mean, it actually can happen anywhere, anytime. You know that. Come on. You know, I mean, obviously it happens more in certain other places, but it can happen anywhere.
Okay. Well, I live in Houston, Texas, and I'm telling you that in the community in which I live in, we don't have drive-bys. We don't have drug houses. We don't have dope fiends sitting on our corners.
No, you're all drunk.
I understand that, you
don't have any crime
North
at all?
Carolina might have degenerated down to that, but Houston
I think we're micromanaging the topic.
Say what?
I think we're micromanaging the topic here. We're playing armchair quarterback, you know, and really what happened 30 years ago is nothing's going to change today. It's not going to change anything that happened yesterday or tomorrow for that matter. Whatever happened, happened.
So you're absolutely right. So let's move on. In regards to you believing that if you'd have kept your past a secret, all of this would have been fine and dandy with the NSM. And I don't speak for the NSM. I'm speaking for Ronald. I'm not speaking for anyone else. But I can tell you this, that I don't care if your past, if I'd have found out about it 5 weeks ago, 5 years from now. Regardless, I would have an issue with anybody coming out and acknowledging that they're an informant. At that point, I can trust nothing that you say or do because you have already shown the ability to go against your moral standards and values. And once you do so, at that point, you can't be trusted. And before you go to ask me the rhetoric of, well, who have you told on? Never once. Never once. I would rather have a bullet put between my eyes than I tell on anybody. I've had the police tell me, hey, look, tell us where you got the drugs from, and we'll let you go. No, bitch.
Well, you said you did 8 years in prison, Ron. What did you go to prison for? What did you go to prison for 8 years?
I went to because I couldn't keep my hands off of other people's shit. I was a thief.
So you were a thief.
I was a low-down, worthless piece of shit.
My
thief.
morals is that anyone who steals and steals stuff, I'm going to have a problem with that because I don't know if my stuff can be trusted around you. So
Absolutely.
you shouldn't, so therefore maybe you shouldn't be in the NSM now. So now, you know what I mean? So where does it stop?
Where does it stop? Where it stops from is the fact that when you turn around and you're snitching on people, at that point you're costing people their life, truly their life. When you're turning around and you're stealing something from them, if somebody was to steal something from me, if somebody was to come into my home and break into my home and they steal one of my laptops, one of my flat screen televisions, one of my radios, one of anything.
You're justifying it?
At that point, they're not trying to cause me my life. They're still a piece of shit.
They're stealing from you. They're taking your
stuff
which makes them a piece of shit.
Which makes them a piece of shit. Which makes them a piece of shit.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
So we don't want pieces of shit in the NSM, right? We don't want guys that are pieces of shit. How do we know you're still not a thief? How do we know you're not taking the donations that the NSM's getting and stealing them? How do we know?
Well, first of all,
we can go. I'm just saying.
That's what I'm saying. See, I initially said we're going to have a rational conversation, and here you are wanting to be irrational. You sound like my ex-wife.
No, it's not an irrational statement.
Well, it is an irrational statement because you and everybody else involved with NSM knows that I have no associations or dealings with NSM's financials at all. So to sit up here and try to act like somebody's doing something in that regard, you're silly. You're making yourself out to be
so hang on, you can't move up the ranks in the NSM? Hang on, you can't move up the ranks, Ron? You couldn't move up the ranks, say 10 years from now. Maybe you'll be the commander. Who knows? And then it comes out that he was a thief.
Why? See, and that's just it. See, when you have somebody that is leading your people as well as what Bert Colucci leads his people, there's no need of ever looking for a next in line. I'll worry about a next in line for Bert when that man is 85 years old. Until then, I don't think about next in line. I think about which next one of our enemies.
I was using hypotheticals. I wasn't trying to replace.
You're not using hypotheticals. You're not using hypotheticals.
I was saying,
you're using out-of-the-world leftist bullshit. That's what
you're
using.
doing too, because you're bringing something up from 30 years ago, and I'm not an informant because you said you are an informant. No, I'm not. Okay, I was not an informant. No, I'm not. I'm not informing on nobody right now.
See, that's just it. See, people fail to
understand.
And
I haven't for 30 years.
Okay.
There's certain 18, 19 years old.
Listen. All right. There's certain behaviors that if you commit throughout life that are, what's the word I'm looking for? You can atone. That's the word I'm looking for. There are certain things that are atonable throughout life. There are certain things that are not atonable throughout life. And in each religion, each ideology, each belief, each whatever in the hell one wants to call it, those things can vary and differ. And the one thing that I know for a fact is there's a few things within my own personal beliefs and ideology that are not atonable for. You cannot
you as an individual, though.
You cannot atone for being a race trader.
That's not a race trader. That's not a race trader. Well, you can call it that if you want. I mean, and then you can call me a ripper, and you can call me all other names, but it's not. It doesn't matter. I'm not a race trader because I've never bred outside my race.
You're just yapping. Nobody called you a fucking race trader, you stupid Jewish fucking rat.
That's what it said,
No, you
asshole.
shut your fucking snitch hole up, you.
So
hear
have
what the
the
fuck
fucking
I'm
conversation like you said and stop being a heretic.
Okay, well, listen, you stupid fucking snitch nigger. Why don't you hear what the fuck
I'm
coming out of my mouth?
Wow, that was intelligent. That was intelligent.
Jeez. The words coming out of my mouth
normalization here. Take a sip of the beer. Take a sip of the beer and calm down.
Nobody gives a fuck. I've done walked away from that because you've done irritated me because of your Jewish lies. When it's all said and done with, there are certain things that are not Are you done talking yet, you fuck?
Well, I know, you're rambling on. I mean, what's a Jewish lie? You're like throwing me off for a loop here. I mean, I don't understand what you're saying. What's your point?
The point is there's atonable offenses and unatonable offenses. And ratting and race trading are two of the unatonable offenses. You cannot go off and rat on people. You cannot go off and race trade on individuals and then think you can come back into the fucking movement like everything is good, fine, hunky-dory, dandy. Because it ain't. Those are things that are not allowed regardless. You do it once, you are always in. There is no coming back.
Well, first of all, Ron, now can I answer the question? I was never a member of the NSM. nor was I really ever having any intention of joining. So what threat could I have possibly ever been to you?
Well, I wasn't speaking as a member of NSM. I was speaking as a member of the National Socialists of white people. You don't have to be a part of NSM to still be a National Socialist. You don't have to be 100% pro-white, 1,000% for your people, live, die, breathe, and walk this shit daily to be NSM. You don't have to be.
Oh, you can. Oh, you only have to be part-time to be a part of it. You only got to be part-time. I mean, I don't get what your point is. I don't understand. I don't get you what your foundation is.
You Jewish fucking snitch bitch.
No, I'm not Jewish. I can assure you of that. That's one thing I am not Jewish.
Yeah, I'm sure you got plenty of Jewish talk when you were in prison. I understand.
There we go. You see with the slanderous remarks. You see, and that's having a dialogue.
No, the slanderous remarks is you sucking kite dick in prison while you had some nigger trying to stick his pecker in your butthole. That's slanderous.
Well, I don't recall reading that anywhere in the book. So where'd you get that information from? Are you just blowing it out your ass?
Oh, that was.
I mean,
no,
your
that
mouth.
was from your publisher.
Same thing.
Hey, your publisher sent me an email last night. You know, just like all the emails you got about people talking shit about birth. Yeah, your publisher sent me an email.
He did? What was that from? The FBI? Or the CIA?
That's who published your book. I mean, that was your boss. That's the exact individuals that would have first-hand knowledge of the things that you were doing, isn't it? Wouldn't that be the best source of person to go to?
It was a special operations unit. So, but that wasn't the FBI. So yeah.
Oh, the special operations.
Yeah, I can't tell you because of disclosure agreements. I'm not going to risk getting arrested or having charges brought against me to have a conversation with somebody who can't have attention span more than 10 seconds. A cuss word.
Well, my next attention span will definitely catch your attention because I'll let you know now. You know, you might have pissed me off, you being a rat. You might have irritated me with all the other nonsense, but the part of you that actually got me to the point of where I'm now planning a trip to North Carolina because you told me you would leave.
Great. I love it. I love it.
You're
coming to North Carolina. When can I expect you?
Stop talking, bitch. You know, you want to reference to the
asshole. When are you coming?
As being
be a man. You're the one that don't care about nothing. You're the tough guy of the world. You're the leader of everything. You don't care. You're going to stand up and fight everybody in the world and beat them up. Tell me when you're coming.
I'm the leader of me. I'm the leader of everybody.
I know. You, Ron. The world according to Ron. Yeah, you won't answer that question, will you?
According to Ron, people like you would have been euthanized a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. You select who lives or dies, huh? You're God, huh?
Fuck, if that was nice, I wish I would. You know what? I'm better than your God. Your God is a
you're better than God. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Than your
That's
God.
Great.
No. I didn't say I was better than God. I said I'm better than your God.
My God. Well, who's my God? Since you know everything.
Your God. You know, that Jewish fuck that you praise to.
That's blasphemy there.
I'm way better than that
Jewish effort that I pray to. The Jewish effort that I pray to.
Fuck you are great.
Now, Ron, come on now. Have a conversation now. Instead of calling names, what bothers you now?
We've already bypassed conversation. You
decided
that you wanted to sit up here and be derogatory towards the NSM. You want to be derogatory towards the members of the NSM. You want to be derogatory towards Adolf Hitler and all of this shit. At that point, we've done bypass conversation. Now
was I derogatory?
Didn't you say he was
I
probably
play an intro on my podcast show and the NSM's platform promoting Adolf Hitler's didn't I say what was the name of the one there? The greatest what was the name of it?
Okay. Greatest story never
told. Come on, man.
Okay,
so
hold on a minute. Time out then, Joe. Time out then, bitch. You rat-type motherfucker. Understand this one.
Come on,
on your last show that everybody can go and listen to right fucking now. And if I need to, you fucking kike son of a bitch, I will go and get the exact fucking time. But why is it
you go ahead and do that? Can you think that long? Do you have that long of an attention span?
You turned around on your show stating,
Ron, take it easy. Calm down.
Hitler was probably in hell.
He probably is. I don't know where he is. I said he was either in heaven or hell. I don't know. That's what I did say. You were absolutely correct.
So at that point,
I did say that.
Are you hearing the man? How the fuck are you honoring the man? How the fuck do you got anything to say about the man, you fucking Jewish type nigger?
He was, well, so we could spin it, Ron. I said he's either coming down from heaven or he's in the bowels of hell. You're right. I did say that, Ron. Big deal.
See, listen to this kite. Listen to this fucking Jewish kite. You can't stand that. You talk about a motherfucker is boiling in the bowels of hell, and you're talking about, oh, well, we can stand that.
Ron, usually people that have this phobia about Jews are probably most likely Jews themselves.
Yeah.
So that's why. You know, it's just like the Ripper thing you brought up about sexual pedophiles. You've got a very strong phobia about that, and it worries me. Very much worries me.
Yeah, because all of you motherfuckers should die. All of you bitches have been a degenerate.
No, it worries me that you got some hidden ghosts in that closet
for the last 80 fucking years. The people like you should have been abominated many years ago. We shouldn't be allowing you fucking people to have a platform to continue to erode the mindset of these people. You're sitting here trying to convince individuals that taking a constitutional stance is the way to go. He's fucking entertaining you that a constitutional stance is the way to go. It's not. The Constitution
Ron.
fails you idiots.
That little pea in your head is going to explode. Take it easy, okay?
Right. That pea in my head done pissed on your mouth.
Oh, no. That one hurt. Oh. Okay, Ron. Anything else? I got another caller here who maybe wants to talk. Should I bring him on, Ron? The world according to Ron?
I do got one more motherfucking thing to say real quick. You want to sit there and talk to Sarge about the fact that people call him niggers and all of this other shit behind his back and every fucking thing else, and ain't nobody calling fucking Sarge a nigger. First off,
I never said
if Sarge don't like it, he can take an issue up with me. Sarge is a nigger in my book. He was born that way. He will die that way. There's nothing a man can fucking do about it.
I'm sure Sarge is not worried about you, Ron. I'm sure, but I can't speak for him.
Unlike you, you're just a worthless
Why are you speaking for all these other people? Just speak for yourself. But you can't because you're hiding in the closet, Ron. I'll pray for you though. I will pray for you.
Yeah. Pray. I will. Give me your address.
I will pray.
That's what I want you to pray. Pray your address for me, motherfucker.
You want my address? Why? What are you going to do with my address? Oh, well, let me know when you're coming, Ron.
I don't call in fucking blogs. I don't call in secretive. I don't hide who the fuck I am. You got my
Well, I asked you 19 times when you're coming, and you won't answer. Are you going to sneak up behind me like the Latin Kings or the other people that tried to kill me?
How the fuck am I going to tell you what time I'll be there if I don't even know how the fuck far it is?
Well, you're the one that made the statement. You were coming, Ron, not me. I didn't invite you. You made the statement.
Because of you.
Ronnie.
I'm willing to make it.
Ronnie, you're putting yourself. You're putting your foot in your mouth. Think before you speak.
Only thing that you need to worry about is what you're going to call whenever I get a hold of your ass.
What am I going to call? I'm not going to call nothing or nobody, Ron, because you're never going to get a hold of me. Okay, just go back in your closet
because you're a coward
and come out when it's time to be angry.
You're a coward, Jewish kite-loving bitch.
I'm a coward.
Oh, you're definitely a coward. That's a guarantee.
Well, I got another caller that may want to comment on this, so we'll just bring him on. And I know you don't. You don't care about much. Go ahead there, Connecticut.
Oh, my God. I know people from down there that won't lift a spoon to repot a flower in a flower pot. But you give them a half a dozen beers, and they'll shovel 20 yards of soil for you tomorrow.
Yeah,
down where, motherfucker? Down where? Down where, bitch?
Kind of person that's going to represent me or that is on my side, God help us.
Nobody wants to represent fuckboys like you. People like you are the reason why the white race is in the position it's in now. People like you are the ones that have continued to degrade our race down into believing that homosexuality is okay, to believe that race mixing is okay, and that white pride is a bad thing to have. You and your people are the reason our people are in the place it's in today. It's not because of the Nazis. It's not because of the racists. It's not because of the white supremacists.
Listen to
this
It's
because of you fucking pussy-ass coward-ass fuckboy.
He's going to explode. He's drowning again in 2 feet of water, punching up at the sky.
He's just beyond help, that's all.
I know.
Yeah, beyond help. You're fucking Connecticut up there sucking Boston dick. Shut your fucking faggot ass up, bitch.
That's God help us all if he's on our side.
Yeah, you're going to need your Jewish God fucking with me, boy, because I'll provide you the fucking devil himself.
After 6 beers, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he can handle 6 beers. I mean, how much you weigh, Ron? 120 pounds? I mean, I don't know. Look at you.
You're the retard that wanted to refer to me as a bull in a china shop. You fucking moron.
Yeah.
Not only are you a fucking rat, but you're a shitty-ass rat because you try to tell on people and you can't even provide accurate fucking information.
Ron. Ron, we're supposed to have a conversation, and you resort to just calling.
Don't worry, nigger. It's all right. Hey, don't worry. Them niggers are gonna come for your asses too. You constitutionalists that think that we're gonna fix this. The 14th.
Everybody's out to get me, huh, Ron? Should I check into PC, Ron? Should I check into PC?
PC.
Like you were
how about you
in Michigan?
Check into a noose?
Yeah, you were in protective custody, weren't you, Ron?
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, my record's open.
Huh.
My record's open and there for the world to see.
It's not open.
What I want to know is when are you going to check into the noose out there in the front yard?
The noose in the front yard? Woo! Whoa! So you're hanging nooses up in my yard? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm hoping that you'll go hang yourself from one.
Oh, okay. Okay, you going to hold it for me?
Well, I mean, if you really need so.
Oh, okay.
I'm always willing to help.
Okay, good. So you're willing. So you want to help participate in me hanging myself? That's what you're saying. Well, that Ron, just don't. You need to really keep your mouth shut. You're just really talking stupid.
So then you go on and a mission of not being of the same kind. So you admit to not being a white supremacist. You admit to not being a white nationalist. You admit to not being out for what is best for the white race.
I never was a member of the NSM, Ron. That's a clear argument, Ron.
Hold on,
calm down.
You are only out for capitalism and globalism, two of which
I am. So everything I talked about, I was really for,
the
huh?
Jewish influence throughout
Didn't you say you really liked me at one time too? Didn't you say that? You said, yeah, I don't really know you too well, but I like what you say and everything. I like your show. I think you did say that. But you don't know what way you're coming from.
I found out the truth. People can hide themselves. They can hoodwink individuals and make people believe that they are something.
So I hope you're not in charge of security anywhere, vetting people.
The truth comes out. The truth always out to lie.
It sure does, Ron. It sure does. And that's why I spoke the truth. Because I wasn't trying to hide anything from anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? You weren't trying to hide the fact that you were a rat, but yet you never told anybody.
Ron, that's why I did the show. I I can't pick the day that, according to Ron, when he thought it would have been profitable for me to do it, but I decided to do it at that time because the time was right, okay? Because, we all have to live lives. I have to work for a living. I don't know what you do for a living except yell at people, so I don't know.
Great.
My mother. Ooh, wow. Oh, that would hurt, too. Oh, man. Come on. You insult everybody else.
That's the same thing she said, dude. Same thing.
Yeah?
I knew it all with my man.
What next? Who else are you going to insult, Ron?
So, let's see. What else do I want to bitch at you about tonight?
Yeah, sure.
The fact that you decided that you were going to talk on your last podcast about some fucking pedophile faggot that had microchips of fucking child porn.
Yeah, that was a good news story. Yeah, you really do listen to my show. Man.
You know what I thought was funny about that whole fucking thing? Was the fact that you had the audacity to call your fucking callers pervert listeners. The people that were
you got a lot of them. Well, Bert knows that. Everybody knows that. I got a lot of these transvestites that call in and ask me.
What do you got on there right now? 12, 14, 16? That's not a lot of callers, bitch.
Actually, I only got about 8 on here now. Well, anybody knows, Ron, Blog Talk Radio, usually get about 15, 20. That's a full board,
Sure.
Oh, come on. We're dissecting this, going back and forth. Now, let's really get the truth out there. What are you really upset about? Let me help you.
How do you compare yourself to the police? How do you compare yourself being a rat? How do you compare yourself being a snitch, rat, Jewish, dick-sucking, nigger-loving faggot?
Read the court transcripts. That's what they said, not me. I just repeated it.
You weren't a cop. You weren't working your job. You weren't undercover as a law enforcement officer.
I did swear an oath to uphold the Constitution against all enemies.
You were a paid snitch.
Yep.
You're a paid snitch. I guarantee you that when it comes down to filing your W-2s,
call
not
the
a place on that for
call the
paid
U.S.
snitch.
Attorney's Office and tell them change the job title to that. Maybe you'll make them change the job title. I don't know, but that's not what I was called.
I've never heard of them referring to any paid informants as law enforcement.
How the fuck would you know?
Well, I wasn't being paid just to inform, okay? So there was other things going on, like I said. So, but why does this, Ron, it's 30 years ago, right? What did you do 30 years ago? Can you even remember? What's the big
30
deal?
years ago, I was 9, motherfucker. I was still jacking off in my mama's bathroom, bitch.
And probably with playing with the dogs and the goats in the backyard, too, down in Texas, right? You know, I mean, but
well, first off, see, that's just it. You stupid son of a bitch. Let me guess. I was born and raised in Texas. I just decided to go to Michigan and commit some crimes and go to jail for 8 years, right? That's what I did?
Probably.
See, that's just it. That's the difference between
No, you sound like someone who was probably a drug addict. Or, you know, so you probably went up there to Detroit or something and probably gave all your money to the, the N-word there.
Are you done?
Yeah.
You're done, yeah. Because when it's all said and done with, you're going off of assumptions, feelings, and your own personal wants. Where National Socialists, we go off of facts and truths.
You do? You're calling me a Jew. Where are you getting your facts from?
Your behavior.
Come on, man.
Listen, you ain't got to be of Jewish blood to be a fucking kike. You want to go off and live and love the Jew. You are a fucking kike. Donald Trump ain't no fucking Jew by blood, but he's a fucking kike by actions.
Such anger, Ron. Such anger.
And a kike is any fucking cocksucker that wants to be either a Jew.
Do you love anybody, Ron, in the world? Do you love anybody? Do you love anybody but yourself?
Yeah, I love every white man and woman and child that stands up daily and pronounces their love for their people and who continues to make sure
you
that
just lied to everybody, Ron. You just lied to everybody. You just lied. You just lied. That's not true.
That's what a degenerate will always say. A degenerate will always try to bring everybody else down to their level. That's exactly what you're doing.
That's what you are then. Okay. A degenerate. Okay. All right, thank you. Finally, I get the truth out of you.
I can be all of that. I can be all that. But when it's all said and done with, you're still nothing more than a kite-loving, nigger, dick-sucking, faggot ass.
Okay, Ron. But my question was, do you love anybody? And you just lied to everybody. But, go ahead.
I love my own. You don't love me.
What do you do for a living, Ron, if you don't mind me asking? I mean, I'm such a, I probably should know because I'm such a paid informant.
You would rather have it to where, everybody can just continue to parasite themselves off of everybody else just to make a buck. And all of this.
I'm glad you know what I believe in.
As your opening intro says, our founding fathers failed us when they had mentioned that, everybody is created equal in the eyes of God. No, they weren't, bitch. Everybody was created equal in the eyes of a white man.
Houston, Texas.
Oh, Ron. Do you talk like that at the dinner table at night in front of your family?
Absolutely. My kids sat here and listened and laughed at you. The other night, the whole time I ripped into your rat-ass, faggot-ass. My 9-year-old son knows you're a bitch. First to come out of my 9-year-old son is, Dad, is he really somebody that you associate with? No, son, he's a rat bitch. Yeah, I can tell.
You lied to your own child? Because you do associate with me, because you did. Well, you did.
There ain't no
you lied to your own child. What? You have any honor at all.
Right. Oh, so you was lying? Is that it? He heard what you had to say, and he knew that my 9-year-old could tell you were lying. My 9-year-old.
Well, I'll tell you what, though.
You
I would never speak in front of a 9-year-old the way you're speaking.
Everybody else is a fabricator. Nobody else can live and honor the truth. But the good old great Joe Gibson, you narcissistic Jewish kike-loving faggot bitch.
There's another title.
You're not better. You're worthless.
Worthless now.
You're worthless. Everything you do is at detriment to everyone else. The only person that you are interested in trying to do anything beneficial for is yourself. You prove that. If you will turn on everybody for once, you'll turn on everybody every time. And just like this shit transpired the other day with NSM, the first thing you did before anybody from NSM even jumped on there and ripped into your fucking snitch ass, you decided you was already going to turn coat on NSM, but you were still going to try to suck Bert's dick. The whole show,
I don't think Bert would be happy with you saying that now. Now you're knocking your own commander. Jeez.
Why? Because you're sucking up to him? You're trying to kiss his ass?
You're the one. You're calling him a homosexual right now. You're calling him a homosexual.
Show everyone. Shut the fuck up. See, you're being
stupid. You're calling him a homosexual.
That should show everyone.
Well, Bert's a little bigger than I am, and I sure as heck could. I would never be able to force him to suck his what. So you're saying he's letting me suck his penis? Yes.
Right
my Lord.
Right on. Sure. Whatever the fuck you want to say, you stupid.
Shame on you. Run, man.
Moving
you're just self-destructive.
Everybody should be hearing this. Everybody who listen to this.
What do you want? A quarter of a beer now? And you're already that drunk?
Oh, you don't want me to talk. You don't want me to talk. That's what it is. You want to overtalk me so that way nobody else hears the fact that you still have nothing but the utmost love, respect, and desire to be associated with our commander, the great Bert Colucci.
I think he's a good guy. Yes, I do.
You can't walk away from that because you know how powerful that man is. And so you want to continue to suck up.
No, that's not why I respect him. I respect him because of his character.
Yeah? That ain't what the fuck you were saying the other night?
What did I say the other night? I don't think so. I think anyone for the record knows how I stand. I put that out there very clearly.
They can all go back
and listen to you. But you'll change it because it's the world
that.
according to Ron. You know?
Sure, it's the world according to Ron. That's the way you want it to be, faggot.
Well, I mean, for goodness sake, I mean, if you haven't, I mean, anybody disagrees with you, you go off and start calling them every freaking name in the book, and you label them and categorize them, and I label you what you are. How do you have any conversations with anybody?
I call you what you are. If you don't like being called what you are, quit being what you are. And sometimes, unfortunately, when you are what you are,
like me to be, Ron? What would you like me to be?
You can't stop. I'd like you to be dead.
Dead? Oh,
but I can't get that.
Ron. Stop.
I can't get that. I mean, can you oblige me, please, here, right now, on live Blog Talk? Oblige me, motherfucker. Oblige
you want me to
Give
hurt
me
myself?
what I want, since it's the world of Ron.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to hurt myself, Ron. I'm not going to hurt myself. Ron, really, you need to really take a deep breath and look in the mirror if you can and just say, man, what have I become in my life?
Oh, I've done a lot with my life, way more than you.
Come on.
Way more than
you. I mean, I will pray for you.
Here's another funny
thing. And I forgive you. I forgive you. Don't worry. I won't press charges on you. I'm not going to make up anything on you. Don't worry. I will not do that.
One of the things that really blew my mind on Friday night was how in the hell are you running for public office? How in the fuck are you running for public office and yet you have a restraining order, a personal protection order against you for a woman within the last, and now you say, you know, a little over a year, so let's say the last 13 months. I'm sorry, who the fuck would vote for an individual who is out intimidating, abusing, or harassing women?
Well, first of all, I haven't been found guilty of anything, Ron. You see, we live in America.
I don't need you found guilty. The court found you guilty, and
therefore I still have
a
chance here to
PPO order. I know this much. Try to get a PPO on me, they ain't going to give you one. So she had to have some valid reasons to get it. They
Ron,
for
that's
that
not
shit.
true.
She requested, they gave
it. Not true, Ron.
Oh, that's a great
Anybody
joke.
can walk into a magistrate in North Carolina and take out a warrant for anybody for any reason, and that's how it works down here. It's a messed up system.
Oh, sure, I know. Everywhere
you wouldn't know anything about that because you're too busy flapping that big mouth of yours and you don't listen long enough.
Everywhere you go is a messed up system, though. That's just it. You know, in your world, it's everybody else's problems, not a joke.
I mean, a caller called in, Ron, and it just tore him apart, man, without even listening to him.
You know, you never once even left the state of North Carolina, and yet you lied to Bert, you lied to whoever else you talked to.
I lied to Bert. How did I lie to Bert? How did I lie to him?
Are you really wanting me and everyone else to believe that they let you fly into Dallas, tell you at that point that you
here we go with the flight thing. Why is it so important to you? Why is it so important?
Because it proves that you're a liar.
It proves. It proves nothing.
Beyond the shadow of a doubt.
It proves
Beyond
nothing.
the shadow of a doubt. Let me put the question out there, and then I will let your very next caller tell me if that's not fucking suspicious as all shit.
Okay.
And the point is, if I'm in North Carolina and I fly to Dallas, Texas, on my way to Phoenix, Arizona, I get to Dallas. I land in Dallas. I go to board my second flight, my transition over flight, whatever the fuck they call it. I go to transition over into my next flight. At that point, they tell me, well, no, Mr. Gibson or Mr. Murray or Mr. McBride or whoever, no, you're on a no-fly list. You can't fly to Phoenix. But you know what? Because you're on a no-fly list and we don't want to make you have to pay to drive yourself all the way back home, we're going to let you fly back to North Carolina. Now, that don't make no goddamn sense.
Now, Ron, we're having a good dialogue here. Now, Ron, what if I could provide you with evidence that I drove, not fly? How about that? Because you're claiming I flew back from Dallas to North Carolina. What if I could prove evidence of it? What would I get from you? What would I get? I mean, I'm just saying hypothetically. I don't want money or anything. I'm just saying, like, just an apology maybe, or maybe you stand on your head. I don't know. Whatever it may be. What could I get? What could the stakes be here? Because I could prove
ultimately,
it. I can assure you that.
Well, and that's just it. I'm going off of what you said, and I can pull up the podcasts where you have said that you flew back from Dallas to North Carolina.
Never said that. Never said that.
Right, oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did.
No, I did not.
I can get Eddie on here. I can get Bert on here. I can get Jay on here. We have
all heard. Nope.
Well, I can't say I don't want to go too far. But I know multiple people have heard you say that comment on Blog Talk.
Okay. That's what you're saying now. Now, we're going to prove right now, because the next very show that I do, I can't get the audios now, but I'm going to prove to you that you're 100% full of shit and that you really are a heretic because you just make stuff up as you go along.
Why don't you tell me when your next show is, and I'll have you the proof that shows you are.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this. But why don't we even have to go to shows? Why don't you just ask your commander?
Okay. How about we go to shows? No, because I have no problem with it. I'd rather go and just go ahead and give you the audio.
Why, you don't believe your own commander? You don't have any trust, huh? That's right, you don't believe anybody.
I would rather have all of your listeners hear it out of your own mouth than for them to hear it from someone else.
But Ron, really it's a mute point anyway because nobody really gives a crap. You know what I mean? They really don't care if I drove or I flew or whatnot. But the point being, you're trying to prove me in a lie. We were talking about 30 years ago, and now you're all the way up to 2021 because you can't find anything back then. So now you're up to now and here and now. So, Ron, I think really you're not a bad guy. Really, at the end of it all, I don't think you're a bad guy. I think you're just like driven wrong. I don't know.
I think you're a fucking Jewish, cock-sucking, dick-loving, nigger-loving faggot. But when it's all said and done, if individuals have no concern anymore with who's lying, who's telling the truth, who's being factual, who's being dishonest, then that is the epitome of the fact that our race is completely 100% in its death throes. And at that point, what the fuck is the fight for?
I don't know, Ron. Maybe you can answer that.
Well, you're telling me that no one cares. You're telling me no one cares about what the truth is. No one cares about what the facts are. No one cares about who's being dishonest and
most people don't anymore. I've talked about this so many times. It's not even. It's getting a little bit out of control, Ron. This conversation. I mean, you just really can you talk about something that is very factual for once?
No,
I mean, can we just have a dialogue like you originally wanted? I mean, I had this guy from Connecticut on there, and you just tore him apart, man. I don't want to mute you, Ron, because I don't like doing that.
On something other than you. That's pure and simple. That's all you want.
Go ahead, Ron. I'll give you the platform. Go ahead, Ron. You want to run the platform? Go right ahead. Just speak.
Absolutely. I want to run this platform. And so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us.
That's the only thing you've ever run in your life, probably. But go ahead.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight. We are going to be broadcasted by Ronald down here in Texas, and we are going to spend the evening talking about niggers, Jews, kikes, and snitches. And so, with that being said, I would love to be able to, as soon as I get the audio pulled up, I will definitely have some audio here to provide everyone, and that will be our opening intro. But until then, one thing I would love to mention is that Joe Gibson, a.k.a. Rat Boy of the USA, is no longer on this podcast. He will be, from here on out, replaced by yours truly. And here's our intro.
Can you stay sober long enough for that? We're waiting. Where's this intro at? I think he passed out, everybody. He passed out.
Passed out, motherfucker? Are you serious?
Can you not wait for your intro.
Oh. Shit, I thought it was already playing. That's all your fault. You got me all flustered thinking that it was already playing.
Wow, it don't take much to get you flustered, man.
Why is this not playing?
We're waiting. Come on now. This doesn't make for a good podcast.
Yeah,
Dead air now.
It ain't gonna. Yep, it ain't gonna let it come through. When it's all said and done, that's all. I know.
Ron, I got one for you. Can I play mine? Can I play mine?
I know it. No, you can't play. Go ahead and play yours. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, here we go. I'll play. It's about 2.5 minutes long, so it'll be a good one. It really describes you.
It better not be anything pro-Hitler, because you already said Hitler's burning in the bowels of hell.
Here we go.
As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection, the process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest. A process which had once favored the noblest traits of man now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down.
Harvard researchers have found children who live in high fluoride areas have significantly lower IQs.
Enjoy your extra big-ass fry.
Researchers found members of Congress, on average, speak at a test grade level. Most Americans read at an 8th or 9th grade level.
Look now, I'll talk slow so as you can understand me.
It was just a few thousand years ago that our
All right, everybody. If you hung in there and listened to that, that was Ronald Murray from one of the Nazi skinheads there who threatened to kill me. Of course, that was obviously he never fulfilled his threats, never came through with his threats. You know, I had to play the whole thing because, you know, I didn't want to play bits and pieces. I wanted to make sure that, you know, that you guys got the logistics of it. But his name is Ronald Murray. He's from Austin, Texas. I never had him arrested for that, actually. But I forgot he threatened my father, actually. So, you know, I kind of would like to kick this guy's ass. You know, what do you think? What do you think there? Who's look at Cave? You still on there, Cave? Cave? Oh, I know I got somebody on there. Whoever's on there, whoever's alive. Pressing number 1. I know I got a few callers here on the line here who had to endure that. But, hey, you guys had to listen to the whole thing. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it goes, you know. But that was Ronald Murray there from the NSM. Cave, you still out there? Cave, you fall asleep on me? All right, hang on. Let me see. I still got the recording going, actually. So, hang on. Lori Ann, are you still there? I know I got a few people still on the line.
Yes, I am.
What did you think of that?
Yeah, I've been in the chat, like, commenting here and there. Dude, that guy is freaking nuts and crazy and...
But
wow.
that's the crap I go through.
I
but
don't
that's
know
the
how
crap
you endured that shit for that long. I would have like hung up and banned his ass or whatever. You know, I would have definitely not endured.
Well, you have to understand something.
Anywhere near that.
Well, Lorianne, you have to understand something. A few years ago, my podcast show was like really popular, and I was getting attacked from like so many different people, and this was just like one. I was even on Howard Stern. I told you that. I sent you the clip. You guys the clip, and you guys, some of you may have heard it. But I was getting attacked from like every angle. And these guys from the NSM, they called in and they threatened to kill me. I mean, they were going to try to kill me. They were going to come to my house. I mean, they were going to kill me. And I was like, yeah. I was like, man, I get to live, man. This is fun, you know. I'm like, I'm all for it, you know. I'll leave the porch light on for you. Come on, man. You know, but they never showed up. They never came. You know, so I never got to, you know, they don't know who they're messing with. I mean, I'm not, well, I guess I am. I'm a badass. You fucking mess with me. Let me tell you something.
Called in. When was the show from?
Huh?
When was this show from that you played the clip from that he called in?
Oh, this was May, the month of May 2021. May have been 2021 or 2022.
A little over a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, because you heard him quoting things that happened, yeah. But, you know, like, you know, I'm like one of those guys, look, you know, I mean, this guy, right, he's like 6'3", weighs 113 pounds. He's a crackhead, and he's a stone cold racist. He still is to this day. He just he hates me. You know, obviously, you know, he just hates me. And see, you heard him mention Sarge too, right? Sarge, because he was mad that I had black guys calling into my show. That was the whole thing. You see, that I had Bianca and Sarge calling into my show. That was the big thing. Yeah, that's what started it actually.
Oh my
you know,
God.
they called in. Yeah.
Sarge is ruining the white race, man, and you're part of it, dude. You fucker.
Yeah.
It's all your fault. the white race is never going to so you suck, Joe Gibson.
Yeah. Anybody who wants to call in, listen, I got 60 seconds left. It's going to go into overtime, so you can't get in. So if you want to call in now and press 1. Otherwise, you won't be able to get in. So I won't be on too much longer. But, yeah, man, I mean, yeah, that was the whole thing. See, I used to have this guy named Mandela Khan. He used to call me. He's a black guy. He's from Jamaica. And he'd call in. He'd be like one of my co-hosts. He'd call in. He's from the People's Revolution. And, we used to go back and forth and argue and stuff. But he was like one of my buddies, And they hated that. They couldn't stand it that there was a black guy that was on my show, for some reason. I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? I said, who the hell are you? And because I'm like a white guy, and they were just like attacking me all the time. And it was really good. It was good podcasting, but they really meant it. They were calling and threatening me. They were going to kill me. They were going to come to my house, and I was like, I couldn't wait for it. I was like, man, when are they coming? It's it'll be fun, I even told them I go to the gym at 7 o'clock in the morning and Gold's Gym, Battleground Avenue. Meet me there, Come on.
I'm not trying to hide
your
from
little
anybody.
dick suckers if that's what the fuck you want to do, you little faggot bitch. But I have no
I'm not
problem
trying to hide
with
from anybody, little Ron.
All I'm asking for is the address.
Well, Ron, I'm sorry. People in hell want ice water.
Oh,
you're just going to have to deal with it.
That's what it is.
You're just going to have to deal with it. That's
you
why I'm not going to give my address out. That's right.
Boy.
No, it's not because I'm a coward. It's called intelligence.
It's not my fault that
something
you
you very much lack.
It's not my fault.
Maybe
it's not
the next
my
rally
fault that
we'll
some
see
fucking
each other,
kite decided that he
knows?
was going to stick his Shylocks in your bunghole. That's not my issue.
Yeah.
Not my
Ron.
problem.
You gotta love it, huh?
What do you think? God. Yeah, very colorful. Yeah, no, I would not have put up with that for that long. I would have been like, okay, goodbye. A few minutes.
But
I mean, he was obviously drunk as hell, does not hold his whiskey very well at all.
I know.
And I just love it at the beginning where he's
remember?
like, I live in Houston. We don't have gangbangers here. We don't have drive-bys. It's like, what the fuck planet are you living on? You're living in Houston. You obviously probably have a lot of child trafficking rings and cartels and shit going on down there, and you're trying to pretend everything's just all peaceful and there's no crime.
Crazy.
Whatever.
I mean, improve our lives. You want people to fall back into the same trap that they fell into 250 years ago that caused this fucking...
Isn't that guy amazing? I mean, he's just something else. He's still going on. I mean, I had a whole recording of this. It went on for hours, and they know my address, and I was like, okay, when you coming, man? When you coming? And they never showed up, Because listen, I tell people like this: I leave the porch light on for you anytime you want to come by. Nobody's gonna do anything. They're all tough guys, especially guys like him. They ain't gonna do nothing. Listen, I work out at Gold's Gym every morning between 7 and 9 a.m. Battleground Avenue. I tell people, come on down anytime. We can handle it like men. Nobody ever shows up because they know for a fact. Look, I bench press 450 pounds. You ain't breaking me. Come on, this guy weighs 112 pounds. I'll snap him like a breadstick. Come on. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're just punks, man, and they know it, and they just, they gotta be tough guy in some way, and I guess it's, if they're gonna get their hate out, it's better that they call into a show like yours and get all their aggression out instead of beating their wives and beating their kids or something.
Thank you. And that's my key. I'm glad he's taking his hate out on me and not attacking a Jewish temple or a synagogue or going out and shooting up a school or doing something crazy. You know what I mean? I'm glad they're taking, because by the time that conversation was done, he passed out for 2 days. Oh,
no doubt.
No
doubt.
But
that is the kind of person that you got to kind of worry about, though. It's like, that is the kind of person that'll be crazy enough to, go and shoot up a school or something,
I know.
Or
you're a what?
No,
you don't want to own up to what the fuck you've done.
Okay, Ron.
You're nowhere near a man.
Ron,
you pick on women, get PPO put on you.
Let's move on, Ron. I don't want to hang up on you.
Oh, do we need to move on? Are you wanting to move on? Is your butt hurt?
Closing thoughts to the show.
Did that nigga finally take his dick out of your butt and now you ain't having fun no more?
I'm having plenty of fun. It's just that the clock is winding down, and I wanted to go listen to Harry's show tonight. So.
Oh, don't worry about Harry's show, faggot.
Okay, well, Ron, you don't control my every movement.
Show.
You don't control my every movement.
Yeah, that went on right to the end of the show, like, you know. And they even started calling my cell phone and, like, calling my phone and everything, threatening me, you know. And, look, I wasn't going to have him arrested. I mean, easily I could have him arrested, right, for the crap he said, right? I mean, he threatened me like 90 times. I mean, you know.
I know.
But I wasn't going to do that.
I lost one. Yeah, I totally lost count. And, yeah, I'm getting some food now, too.
What would you have done if somebody called in and did that to you? What would you have done? You probably would have freaked. You'd probably be like a little nervous, huh? I mean, if a psycho like that called in and started harassing you,
I mean, especially if they knew my address and everything, then that's kind of like, okay, you know. I would definitely probably make a report out of it. And go, hey, you know.
Well, you know what I don't like that I forgot about? I forgot about it? That was my father, actually, that called in, that caller. That was my dad. And I forgot all about that, actually. And I'll be honest with you, if I would have, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, you know, that's my dad. And I didn't know he threatened my dad. I forgot about that, you know. But my dad was like the reasonable type. I remember him telling me, let it go, because me and like 7 other guys from the military go down there. You know, I mean, we could do society, planet Earth a favor, you know. But my dad, I remember my dad, you know. Because the guy's a joke. I mean, he's still around, actually. He's still around. He's still around.
If he knew where I lived and everything, I would probably report it. But I would also, you know, I'd have both my 9mm and my 44 ready to go.
Sarge, but this all started because of Sarge. Because Sarge and Bianchi was on my show, and they didn't like them. They didn't like Sarge. They hated him. You know, you heard him say it. You know, he called him the N-word and everything. You know, and I was like, you know, that's my friend. You know, why are you calling him that? You know, and Sarge was on a couple other exchanges I had with those guys, and Sarge was like, just let it go. Forget those guys. They eventually dried up and went away. But this past week, I guess my name got brought back up, I guess, from what I hear from intelligence reports and whatnot. And I guess they brought my name back up. And, you know, I guess they don't like me. I guess they hate me. I don't know. I guess because I'm running for public office.
Are they still actually doing shows here on Blog Talk or something, or what's the deal?
No, they have their own little vodcast, I guess. And I guess there's that was the National Socialist Movement. And that guy got kicked out of the NSM, actually, for doing what he did, threatening me and whatnot. And I guess there's still
you have to be pretty bad.
Yeah, and I guess he's down in Texas. Yeah, and they put pictures up of me and stuff on their Telegram thing, like fake Navy SEAL Joe Gibson and stuff, and you know, all kinds of stuff. I mean, they're just hilarious. What it is when you hate people. See, what it is that's a good demonstration of hate. And when you hate like that, you don't think rationally. But sometimes there's people you can't change, you know, no matter what you do, no matter how much you pray for them, or even if they go to jail for 10 years, you can't change them. They're just bad people. And, you know, I'm against, you know, I mean, it's hard for me to say, like, people like that. I mean, years ago, you see, you handle things a different way. You know,
usually want to have hope for people, is I think what you're trying to say. You try to have hope for people, but you realize, like, man, fucking hopeless. There's no hope for you. You're just you're doomed to be a hater, you know, and you're not going to pass.
And he's calling me a snitch
and
everything, and it's like he's calling me a snitch and this and that, and it's like, who are you, dude? What do you know about me? You don't know me, you know. I mean, it's so because I worked for the government and I was trying to stop corruption, and I stopped murder attempts, and I helped people. And a 3-year-old girl. Remember, I told my story about. That was true. That's a true story. A 3-year-old girl got caught in the crossfire of a gang war in Hartford, Connecticut, and I was trying to find out who did that, you know, because the family wanted justice, you know. I mean, the poor little 3-year-old girl died. I mean, and I'm a bad guy for wanting to find out who did that.
And unfortunately, that happens all too often, especially in Chicago.
Yeah, and I'm a bad guy for wanting to stop that? I'm a rat? What kind of scumbag of society are you that cheers on a 3-year-old little girl that gets murdered? You know? I mean, you know, and when I worked undercover in the prisons, I came across a lot of bad people like that. And I had to become a bad person to fit in, you know, and infiltrate the gang. I became president of the gang. I mean, I was, you know, in charge. I mean, the stuff I saw, the things that I did haunt me to this day. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that really bother me. I mean, I remember a kid wanted out of the gang, and I didn't let him out because I couldn't, because the rule was blood in, blood out. And, you know, and I remember them beating him down in the cell block and him screaming for help. And that, you know, and I ordered that on him. And, you know, but I was working, you know, for the feds undercover. I mean, you know, and I had to do things that to this day I regret. But, you know, and it's just that I saw a lot of bad stuff happen and a lot of, you know, and I'm not proud of it, but, you know, at the same time, I did prevent a lot of bad things happening. I cleaned up. I mean, to this day, the gangs really have never recovered up there in the state of Connecticut. To this day, they're still been broken up, and, you know, a lot of stuff has happened. And we broke up prosecutors that were on the take, lawyers that were on the take, judges that were corrupt.
Well, and I think that's a reality that a lot of people don't really realize, too, when you're in that position, when you are, you know, when you're undercover like that, deep in, you know, that's a reality. So sometimes, you know, you got to get yourself hooked on drugs because they're not going to trust you unless you fucking snort a line with them, or, you know, that kind of thing. You know, that you got to do what you got to do to, you know, get on the inside and infiltrate it in order to expose it and get everybody involved, you know, from, you know, the top down.
You ever see that movie? Years ago from what was it called? Donnie Brasco. You ever saw that movie? Donnie Brasco.
Oh, it sounds really familiar. I probably have, but I'm not placing
it. Had Al Pacino. It had Al Pacino and Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's been a while. But
yeah. And he worked undercover. I knew that guy actually. Joe Pistone was his name, and there was a contract on him for many, many years. He had to hide his family. They were going to kill his daughters, his sons, and, you know, he went undercover. And, you know, I remember Lefty, the mob guy he got close to. It was a movie, and it was pretty much the movie actually depicted a pretty true story of what happened. Well, anyway, the guy that John Gotti killed, oh, God, what the hell was his name? Paul Castellano. That's right, Paul Castellano. Paul Castellano had listed the contract on Joe Pistone in 1989 and 1990 because they had a contract on his family. They were going to kill his family. I remember that. And I knew the guy. I knew the feds that were working that case, actually. And I remember Joe Pistone. And Joe Pistone to this day has to live under assumed identity because, you know, there's still a contract out on his family. But even though it was listed by Paul Castellano, but Paul Castellano got whacked by John Gotti, you know, and Sammy the Bull. Well, Sammy the Bull, he didn't, and John Gotti, they didn't do the killing. It was their soldiers killed Paul Castellano. They watched the hit go down though, but you know, so that was the time frame that I was doing all this. You know, this was a very bad time. You know, crime was out of control. This was 1989, 1990, 91, 92. You know, and I'm a young kid. And I'm special forces coming out of the military, and, you know, and I'm in jail, and I'm working undercover in the jail. And the computers I got caught with, they wanted the Colombo crime family. They wanted to buy the computers. They wanted me to rat on the Colombos. I said, no, I'm not going to rat on them. And, you know, and it was just a big thing that happened back then. And, you know, and I mean, I'm glad I didn't rat and tell, but, you know, at the same time, the things that I did and the services that I never got credit for it, but at the same time I did what I did, but it was another life, you know. I mean, it's hard to talk about because 30 years ago you say, wow, you must be an old man. I'm still a young guy, really. Technically, I'm upper 40s, you know. But that was a different time back then. It's like, it's so weird how times have changed, compared to today. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, think back. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but what were you doing in 1990, 91, 92? What were you doing? Yeah. Oh, okay. So you were,
50
you were 19,
old.
20 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're 19, 20 years old. So you were a teenager during those times. So you know how crazy those times were, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they were
and you know what?
Crazy times.
They still are, just on a different scale. I think that, they're, in some ways, they're even more crazy than they were back then.
Well, there's no code of honor anymore.
Because now we have the advent of
technology. Yeah.
True.
I mean, back then there was a code of honor. I mean, you didn't tell, you didn't rat, you didn't sell out your brother. They had a code, but that was the demise that killed them back in. It was about 1996, 1997 when I saw the real change of the system and the different types of criminals that were coming out. The gangs got broken up, and they weren't consolidated and big anymore. They broke up into different factions, and there was no justice really anymore. These were young punks that would just kill, and not have any remorse or any reason to kill. They would do it over anything. Back then, and there was reasons. You broke a rule, or you had to. There was a code of honor. Like I said, there was like honor amongst thieves in a way. And that kind of got wiped out, and we lost that. And that's kind of like a reflection of how America is today. We see today there's no honor. There's no, what's my handshake mean? If I give you my word, it doesn't mean anything anymore. People lie to each other. There's no honor. It's kind of like with relationships between men and women. There's no honor. There's no, like back then, if I was a married guy in 1991 and I cheated on my wife with another married guy's wife, I'd be killed for that. Today they wouldn't do that. Today they wouldn't care. Then that was a big no-no. They respected the institution of marriage. If this was your wife, whoa, you don't talk about stuff. You respect the ladies, or there was honor. Today there's no honor. There's no respect. And I've seen that the systematic breakdown of what's right between what's right and what's wrong, because there's no man, there's no female. We have in between now. We talk about it all the time. That there's no
exactly.
Community, yeah, there's no
everything is upside down, and it's all me.
Yeah.
It's not,
it's just weird.
It's no longer, just, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And that applies in relationships, that applies to almost everything now. Everything is so selfish that people have, like you said, they have no honor and no integrity anymore. It's like, Webster may as well just take those two words right out of the fucking dictionary because they don't exist anymore.
That guy that was on the phone there, that guy Ron, 25 years ago, if he would have said something like that to me, he'd be in a barrel, a 50-gallon drum with holes in the bottom of it in the Atlantic Ocean. Flat out. That's what would happen. Straight arrow or not, he'd get clipped just for running his mouth like that. Because and that's how it was. But people back then wouldn't say the things that he said like that to me. It's just crazy. It's so hard. I think about my great-grandparents and my grandparents, or people from that generation, and they talk about how the younger generations have lost their way. And I can only imagine how much different it was for them watching us grow up, and now we watch our young people grow up. It's amazing how things have deteriorated and faded away, what's the excitement? What's the street life like out there today? See, I've been living in the country life now, behind the scenes. I'm running for public office or whatever, but I'm not that crazy type of guy I was back when I was 20 years old or 22 years old. I live a quiet life now, Well,
I should hope not.
Yeah,
I don't think that we should, I don't think we should be really much like anything that we were back when we were 20. When you hit your mid-40s, into 50, you and how you approach life should be a very, very different type of reality. Otherwise it shows that you've just never grown up. You've never evolved. You've never grown.
But if you look at the times, though, those people back in 1990, 91, they were my age back then. They were gangsters still. They lit. But today we look at it and we're like, I ain't gonna live like that now. I'm grown up. But back then there was. Look at Paul Castellano. He was in his 60s when he got whacked. Look at John Gotti. Look at Sam. Those guys weren't young. They weren't kids. Let's see, Scarfa. Let's see, what the hell was his name? What the hell was that guy's name? They did a movie about him. Henry Hill. Remember Henry Hill, Goodfellas? Remember that movie, Goodfellas? He was around back. I met him.
Yeah.
Henry Hill. I remember him. Yeah, Henry Hill. Yeah, Uncle. Remember he called the guy Uncle Paulie that played Uncle Paulie. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, Paul Castellano.
Mm-hmm.
All those guys, man. The movies and everything, although those were all Little Italy, all those, Worcester Street, New Haven, Connecticut, and everything. I knew all those guys. They were those characters that played the movies, and those guys.
And
were
even
real
they
people.
had rules. Even they had rules, even against their rivals. There was shit that you just did. There's lines that you just did not cross, and there was still a level of civility even in the mob.
Yeah. Organized crime, you know what? I always respected it. They always had this thing. You know how they always said, it's our thing. It's our thing. This is our thing. That's what they used to say. And it was like the neighborhoods, they had their own police force, and that was the mafia. They had their thing. It was their thing. They did things behind the scenes. They never called the government. They never called 911. They never called the fire department. They had their own people handle things. The Irish were the same way. The Westies, Hell's Kitchen. Oh, Hell's Kitchen was crazy. I remember Hell's Kitchen, man. Oh, wow. The Irishmen back then, they were some crazy sons of bitches, the Irish back then. What the hell was his name? Green. His last name was Green. I forget his first name. He got killed right before I came onto the scene. He tried car bombing him about 16 times. He came from Cleveland, Ohio. I forgot his name. His last name was Green. I remember that, but crazy Irish gangs, man. Irish were some bad sons of bitches, the Irishmen, but all these people were discriminated against when they got off the boat. The Irish, the Jews, the Italians, they got put into neighborhoods, the 5 Points and everything. All that's true, those neighborhoods. And the Bronx, 5 boroughs, those were the neighborhoods. And if you were born and raised in a certain neighborhood, you stuck with your own clique, your own kind, and that's how it was back then. See, and if you want to break away, you came to where I'm at now. I moved away from up there. If I went back up there, guys probably wouldn't really remember me from the old neighborhood, and they wouldn't recognize me. Most of the people are dead now, or they're in jail, or they moved on. I remember when they did a Fox news story on me when I sued the government in 2000, and it was after the second murder attempt. They did like a 15-minute skit on me on Channel 61 in Connecticut, and what was his name? What's that guy's name up there? Oh man, I forgot his name. Senator Lieberman, he was involved in it. The guy that ran for VP, Joe Lieberman, he was involved, and there was another guy that was involved there. I forgot it. He was the Attorney General. I forgot his name. Oh man, I wish I could remember it. My mind's going blank right now, but it was. But Joe Lieberman was involved. That was a corrupt son of a bitch, Senator Joe Lieberman. He was. I think he was Al Gore's VP during 2000 campaign. Remember Joe Lieberman? He ran for vice president.
Yeah, very vaguely. Yeah, that was pretty not very aware of politics on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Joe Lieberman, he was corrupt. That was the corrupt class that was coming out of the Democrats at that time.
Wasn't he in Senate forever?
George Bush. What's that?
Wasn't he in the Senate or something, or a congressman for for fucking ever?
Senator Joe Lieberman. Yeah, he ran, and he was Al Gore's vice president. Yeah, he was Al Gore's vice president. And if he would have been vice president if they would have beat George Bush in 2000. But it was what the hell was his name, man? I can't remember his name, man. That freaking guy from he talked about me. He did an interview about me. I remember him saying my name, Joe Gibson. Yeah, that guy Joe Gibson. Yeah, well, in this case, said Joe Gibson. I remember him. I can't remember his name. Son of a bitch. Oh, I remember his name. He was the attorney general in Connecticut, but he was corrupt like a son of a bitch, though. And I had some shit on him, but they wouldn't let me bring it. See, when they tried to kill me the second time, that's when I got out of Connecticut. I said, there ain't going to be a third time. I'm getting the hell out of here. You know, I remember I was getting out of my car. It was March 31st, and I was getting out of my car, and three guys, they surrounded me so fast. Yeah, I mean, and I was expecting it. You know, here I am. I'm trained. I'm a professional. I know how to defend myself. And they still duped me. I mean, I don't know how they did it, but the three of them, they circled me so fast, and I said, I'm dead. I'm like, that's what I said to myself. I said, I'm dead. I can't win. You know, they got me. And the guy slammed the gun up against the temple of my head. Boom, it hit me in the side of the head. He pulled the trigger. And the gun went bang, and it misfired. But I'm thinking, you know, my head's blown off now. I'm dead. You know, you get a big loud bang, and my ear starts ringing. And then I'm like, wow, I'm not dead. And the guy in front of me pulls out a knife, stabs me in the chest, you know, and he rips the knife out. That's what hurt the most, when he ripped it out. And then I fell in the middle of the street on State Street in Meriden, Connecticut, and I thought I was, you know, cars are going by me. Nobody would stop and help me, you know. I'm laying there half bleeding to death. And I managed to get enough strength to crawl back into my car, call 911, and call the ambulance. And I gave my deathbed confession to the operator, you know, this, that, blah, blah. I got a case going on. I'm going to work for the federal government, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, hang on. So the firefighters get there, and the firefighters, man, this guy, he picked me up out of the car. Now, I'm not a small guy, you know. He picks me up like a rag doll, and he puts me on the stretcher. And I'm thinking, I'm going to get killed right here, going to the hospital. I'm thinking they're going to finish me off, you know. And I'm like, no, get me out of here, like that. No. And they're like, and I remember the detectives like, calm down, you're in good hands, you're safe now. And then they bring me to Yale New Haven Hospital, and they put me under an alias, Jose Gonzalez. They put me under an alias, not my real name. And they insert a chest tube into me, and that was painful as hell. And, you know, obviously I lived, but they didn't think I was going to live on the way down there, but I lived. And they put me under armed guard status and whatnot. And then when I got released from the hospital, they said, you got a choice. You're either going to witness protection or you're dead. I said, I think I'm going to leave the state of Connecticut. That's what I'm going to do. And they said, okay, we'll let you do that. And that's when I came down here. Started up my life all new, back new, fresh. And just opened up a business. And now here I am years later running for public office. And that part of my life, I kind of just like to forget. You know what I mean? Just like to forget about it. And really, nobody's ever brought it up. When I was running for public office last time around, nobody brought it up, and nobody really asked me questions about it. So, you know, and I always wonder if my time to come.
A pretty sore subject. You know, it's like, no, I don't think any decent person doesn't really like to ask about, like, you know, tell me about, like, one of the most traumatizing events in your whole fucking life. Relive it for me, will you? I mean, most decent people don't want to do that, you know?
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. I'd be kind of like wanting to know, like, hey, what was it like, man? Did you really know John Gotti? Hey, did you really do this? You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess I kind of ask questions. I don't know. You know, I mean, I remember one guy I spoke to on the phone. He said when we were talking about it, he's like, man, I really wish I lived your lifestyle. He was like, wow, that must have been fun. I bet you were crazy. I bet you had a good time. I was like, really? It's not what you think. You know, it really wasn't. It was really boring.
It's not as glamorous as Hollywood makes it out to be.
No, it wasn't fun at all, and it was really sad. You know, and it was, you know, there was a lot of, you know, it's not that glamorous type of thing, you know. It wasn't. You were always wanting money. You were always broke because you were gambling, partying, and you know, all your best friend was either going to jail or getting killed, or you know, and you know, it was just there was no family life. It was just fast pace. You know, was there good times? Yeah. Was there fun times? Yeah. Was there partying? Yeah. But the most part, it was sad. You know, at the end of the day, if I had to live my life over, I'd like to live a nice, quiet life. Like what's the most boring life you could think of? A farm, maybe someplace, you know.
Middle of nowhere, cabin, hunting and gathering.
Like the
nobody around for miles.
Yeah, Little House on the Prairie or something.
Yeah.
I'd give it all up. I'd give
Even
it all
then,
up. All the crazy stuff.
There's still too many people on Little House on the Prairie nearby.
Yeah. I mean, I would go to the casino and I would drop
somewhere where it's like your nearest neighbor is like 10 miles away.
I mean, like I just said, I would go to the casino. I dropped $20,000 like it was nothing. You know, I mean, I was partying, having fun, going to the dog tracks, the race tracks, or whatever. You know, and hanging out with these guys. I mean, it was a fun time. I mean, yeah, it was fun, but like I said, at the end of the day, I remember going to Mesquamaket Beach in Rhode Island, and me and two other guys, and I got drunk and passed out, and the guy wrote asshole on my back. You know, was it tanning lotion? He wrote asshole. So it's right here, you know, so it said asshole on my back because, you know, the sunburn, you know. And they were all laughing at me, you know, like, we were doing a warehouse job. We're unloading trucks or whatever, right? And I'm wearing a tank top. And they're like, Joe, why don't you take your shirt off? And I was like, no, I'm sunburned. And they're like, yeah, well, we want to see your tan. Like that, you know, like, oh, let me look at it. And they had some girls there and everything, and they were giggling and laughing or whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm flex, take off. And they all started laughing. I'm like, what the fuck are you laughing at? And then finally I find out with asshole written on my back. I said, you son of a bitch. I remember beating that kid's ass in the bathroom, like, you know, that's how it was. I was passed out, broke, you know, and my best friend writes asshole on my back. What an idiot, you know. but
well, that's the kind of shit people do, though. You know, even though it's like, there was a lot of traumatizing stuff, but it's also a lot of that is just like making the best out of a bad situation, you know, and it's just kind of normal. Yeah. Like, you just don't really know any other way, really, you know, and so you just make the best of it.
Well, I remember, you know, you got to remember the people you hurt along the way, you know. Like, I was living this double lifestyle, and I was dating this girl, and she didn't know what I was doing, you know. She didn't know I was going into the military and everything, and, you know, she was pregnant, too, when I left. So I don't know if she got an abortion to this day. I don't know what happened. Because her parents, she was like one of those rich girls or whatever, and her parents made her break up with me and everything when they found out I got arrested in a bar fight. And to this day, I don't know what happened to her. She sent me a message like 5 years ago. You're a scumbag. You make my skin crawl. You scumbag or whatever. I was like, damn, I haven't talked to you in like 30 years, you know. You know. And then she blocked me on Facebook, so I don't know what happened, you know. So, I mean, I felt like asking. I'm like, well, you were kind of like pregnant last time I talked to you, you know, in 1990. Did you ever have my kid? You know. So, but I talked to one of her best friends. She was Melissa Barbarino, Tom Barbarino's father. He owned Barbarino's car dealership in Wallingford, Connecticut, and Mafia, of course, tied. And she told me she got an abortion. So. Which I'm against, of course, so I feel bad to this day. But you see, that's the lifestyle I lived. Now, imagine if I would have had that kid back when I was 18 years old. What kind of life would that kid have had? You know what I mean? When I got out, you know, I was in, you know, here I'm working, you know. I mean, I would have put that kid through hell. You know, I feel bad. You know, so. Well, she moved on. You know, I guess she got married or whatever. I don't know. You know, I never got with her, and I've never spoken ever since. Like I said, she sent me that message on Facebook. But those are the people that I made contact with during that time. That, you know, those are broken relationships. I mean, I meet families that broke up. I mean, this kid that I know, he got killed. He was in a gang. You know, he got shot and killed. I remember he came from a good family, and his parents were heartbroken. You know, the dad had so much dreams for him. He was going to go. He had a football scholarship. You know, and he ended up murdered, dead, you know, for stuff that he got involved with. And, you know, it's just, you know, you think of the lives you touched over the years and the people that, that you screwed up their lives, and even the bad things I did. I remember a lot of people, the guys I beat up. You know, I remember kicking their teeth in, and you know, I think about that, and I was like, that's, you know, I was a bad person. I wasn't a good guy. You know, I was a mean person. I feel bad about that. You know, I wish I could go back and say I'm sorry to those people, you know. I mean, to this day, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people's lives that I ruined, you know. I mean, even though I was doing the greater good, but at the same time, there was, you know, I was in a gang, you know. I mean, that's just not, it's not something to be proud of, you know. I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. It's hard to put in words, you know. I mean, just think of the lives, the people that the ripple effect, you know. You hurt this person, it hurts that person, it hurts this person. You know, it's like a domino effect, you know. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's like, how did my actions, you know, really impact, like, I mean, it's some of those things, you know, and there's a lot that you don't know, you know, and even things that maybe you haven't thought about for a very long time. And for good reason, you know. Some of that is like your own brain trauma, kind of like, you know, blocking stuff out because you don't want to rehash those traumas. You don't want to rehash all that, you know, all those old feelings of guilt and all that stuff, you know, and
you understand that a lot of that stuff comes back and forth. Yeah, relive it, you know.
Yeah.
Things trigger. They trigger. I get triggers, you know, that remind me back to those days, and I'm like, oh man, you know. And I'll think back like, wow, I remember this guy, you know, and like, you know, and you know, it's just stuff that you just don't want to, you know. I guess I was one of the lucky ones. I lived through it, lived to tell about it, but. And who knows, 20 years from now, you know, who knows? You know, they'll say, yeah, that guy, remember this guy? You know, you never know. But at the same time, you know, like, look at that asshole I was just arguing with. You know, I mean, that could have easily blown up to a very bad situation. I mean, imagine if any one of them came here to try to hurt me, you know? I mean, I would have to defend myself, and, you know, I'd hurt him, you know? I mean, he wouldn't stand a chance.
Well, I mean, it's not like they wouldn't have had it coming, but it's not like it's something that you want to do either. You know, it's like rather avoid that.
No,
I
would make,
and that's what a decent person does. And I guess that's to your credit, because the type of person that you were when you were in your 20s, you know, or whatever, would have been this person that would have been like, yeah, you got it coming. I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to have any guilt about it, you know. But now that you're older and wiser and all of that, now you're like, no, I really don't want to have to do that to somebody. I don't want to have to, you know, live with that guilt, even if they had it coming, even if it was in self-defense. You know, we still don't want to have to live with.
No, because I would break him down into pieces, and like, you ever heard that, like a switch would get turned on. I would see red, and I would turn into a machine, and I would just break him down, you know, and he would probably end up like a paraplegic. I mean, like, you know, paralyzed, you know, because I would, if he threatened my family or try to come hurt me, or, you know, or you know, he threatened to kill me in that, you know, in that audio. You heard him, you know. I mean, I would do bad things to him, you know, and if once I did that to him, I would have to do it to his friend and anybody else who was involved, you know. That's all it's to it. You gotta reap what you sow, pal, you know, and that's why it's dangerous, you know, doing this podcast show. But, you know, old people call, you know, like that guy calling in like that. That was a dangerous situation a couple of years ago. I was in a bad situation. People were calling me, like, really big time, threatening me a lot. My podcast show was very popular. I mean, they were, like, constantly harassing me. You know, I mean, they would call me up, just all hours of the night. And they would hack into my computer. I mean, it was crazy. Ask Adam. That guy, Adam, actually, he could tell you. I let him come into my computer to try to fix it, because they hacked into my computer, and it was just bad. It was just a bad situation. I mean, you know, and I don't want to have him arrested. Yeah, it was real bad. Trust me, real bad. But all that's behind me now.
I guess now it's one of those, you know, video killed the radio star. You know, everything's TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know.
We lost Joe. We lost Tave. I don't know. There's a couple people still on the line, so I don't know. They're listening. They're probably like, "Oh my God, I don't want to know this guy. Get me the hell out of here." I'm not gonna hurt nobody. I promise. I'm a nice guy, really.
No, I'm not gathering that impression from you at all. I mean, it's
well, I hope so.
You didn't used to be a good guy. You admit it. I'm
no,
sure
I wasn't.
that
I'll be honest with you. I wasn't.
It's taken some
I was a bad
effort
person.
on your part. A wake-up call. Probably almost dying was probably that wake-up call.
Yeah, it was.
And
I had my throat
a couple of times, and it's like,
staples. Yeah.
When you go through something like that, and even people that are caring for you in the hospital are wondering if your chance, are saying, your chances aren't very good that you're going to pull out of this.
Yeah, they told me I wasn't going to make it.
If that's not a wake-up call, to go,
they
maybe I
need
to, rethink things.
When they slashed my neck open, the nurse said, we're losing him. And you're like, you're not going to make it to the hospital. Because I was bleeding from the neck, 16 staples. They had to close my neck. And they thought they hit my jugular. I mean, blood was just shooting out 4 feet in the air. That's how bad it was. I mean, it was just squirting out like that, and I was dizzy. It was coming out like in shots, like poop, 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 like 4 feet in the air.
Every heartbeat is a new squirt. Yeah.
Yeah, and the nurse was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna lose him. We're gonna lose him." And I remember her talking to my handler. She's like, "I blame you for this," because she knew what was going on. And they managed to clot it up where it would stop bleeding, and they took me in LifeStar helicopter to the hospital. And 16 staples. The artery damage to the back of my neck and everything. It's not in the front of my face. It's on the side. It goes from my side of my neck all the way around the back. Because what had happened was, when he was trying to slash my throat open, I leaned forward right when he was going for my neck, and he came with a surgical blade, and he hit. And when I leaned forward, that's what saved me. Now, if I didn't lean forward, he would have got me right in the front, and they would have just cut my jugular and everything, and I would have bled out in a matter of like 60 seconds. So it was a 1/2 inch deep scar, 1/2 inch deep on your neck. 6.5 inches long, the scar. So you figure it out. What are my chances?
Exactly.
And even then, this is how crazy I was.
For some reason, you made it.
Yeah.
For some reason,
this is how crazy I was.
Yeah.
Listen. I'm bleeding, and the first thing I do is take my T-shirt off and I wrap it around my neck. The first thing I think of is going to get the son of a bitch that did it. I'm like, I'll kill you, you son of a bitch. That's the only thing I think of. Instead of fixing the wound and healing, and trying to get help. No. I would just patch and I remember the T-shirt. I wrapped it around my neck, and it was a white T-shirt, and it turned red in a second. And that blood is just dripping. And I take the T-shirt off, and it's going bloop, squirting out. Pew, pew, pew. It was just bad, man. That was the first murder attempt. That was the first one. The second one was when they stabbed me, But, and the first time around, I didn't learn my lesson. I thought about it, and I was still living life on the edge. But the second time around, that's when I said, oh, I got to turn my life around. I got to get out of this life and just start all over, and that's what I did. Came down here and started my life all over, and now I fight against the government and corruption, and I want to help people, and help them see what's going on. I've seen too much. I've seen things to try to help people. Like, there's not a situation I haven't been in life where I can't help out somebody else. That's how I see it. I've been in the worst places, most dangerous places that is known to man today. I survived 2 murder attempts on my life that were surely most people would die. I came through on that, and I want to help people. I love everybody. I believe everybody deserves another chance. I believe I'm not a mean person anymore. I don't believe in hurting anybody. I believe life is very precious, And, you know, I believe in helping people. But, you know, like I said, back years ago, though, I was a crazy son of a bitch, you know. And I think back and I was like, how could I have been like that, you know, of being mean like that? Life is precious, you know, to take someone's life, to take everything from somebody, you know, their life, everything they have, and what they're all about. Terrible thing, a burden to have on your shoulders, to know that you took everything from somebody, you know. That's a bad feeling, you know. It's a bad thought to have, knowing that you took everything from somebody, you know, because your life is important. What you are, who you are, you know, who am I to play God to take your life? You know, who is anybody to take another human being's life? Your life is precious.
And that's exactly
you know?
why my position on, like, the death penalty, for example, has changed as I've gotten older. It's like, you know, because when you're young, you don't understand what 20 years from now or 30 years from now, you know, the possibility of what somebody can be. And even the worst people. And especially the worst people sometimes are the ones who turn around the most. And so it's like the death penalty to me is state-sanctioned murder. That's the government murdering somebody for their crimes, you know, and society being okay with that. It's like you're going to take somebody and end their life and any possibility for redemption, you know, any possibility that they might actually turn themselves around and do good in this world. And so it's like, and it's very tempting, you know, it's very tempting, you know, when you get child molesters and, you know, people that, you know, torture and mutilate kids and, you know, some of these drug cartels with the human trafficking and the torture that they put people through. And it's really tempting to go, you know, string them up with a rope or, you know, that kind of thing. And it's really tempting. Even for me, sometimes I'm conflicted, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? It still boils down to state-sanctioned murder, guys. You know, you're giving the government permission to kill people, you know, and I just have a huge problem with that.
Yeah, you're right, you know, and that's from life experience that you know that you've lived your life. See, when you, like you said it, when you're young, you don't value the years ahead of you because you don't know about them. You don't know what you could have changed or been or who you touched or who you've been with, you know. You don't know who you could have accomplished things with. You don't know because when you're young, you don't know nothing shit about life experience.
Yeah,
all you know
like
is here and now.
You know, when I was 20, I really did not envision me being 50 years old. You know, I could barely see myself past 30. You know what I mean? Like, envisioning myself at 50, that was like so mentally, you know, impossible for me to really kind of, you know, sink my teeth into that. Yeah, someday I'm going to be 50 years old. And what kind of person am I going to be? You know?
Yeah. An old person that's fat and out of shape and can't do nothing. Man, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm strong, you know. I mean, what are you talking about? I'm not an old man, you know. I mean, geez, you know. But when you're 20, you think when you turn 50, that's it. It's all over, or you're not even going to make it that far. I'm thinking,
40.
man, I'm going to try to make it till
I'm 80. 40 is the end of life, you know.
Yeah, I know.
You're old at 40.
You're an old man.
I remember when my best friend and I both turned 40. We were like, we're old bitches now. We're fucking old.
Oh, God.
And it's like, and now here we just turned 50, and it's like, oh, my God, we're like extra old. You know?
Yeah, well, you know, times have changed, too, you know. They say the 50 is like the new 30, you know? That's what they say, anyway. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
not for me.
I mean, I know I'm not a teenager anymore. I know I'm not, you know, 25 years old. I don't understand that. But actually, you know what? I feel more mature and more stronger and more adept to handle situations. I'm kind of glad I'm at where I'm at right now. I would not want to be 19 years old in today's world, you know? I'm happy of it. Would I give it back maybe 5, 10 years? What the heck? I wouldn't mind. But you know what? At the same time, hey, I got plenty of life to live. What happens, happens. I like to pass my experience down to other people. I don't think life's over. I'm not.
I'm at that age now where now I understand my mom and my parents, or even my grandparents, when they said that, I wish my brain now and insert it into the 20-year-old self, and have the wisdom now and have, the mentality now and go and plant it back into my stupid 20-year-old brain.
You'd be dangerous. At 20 years old. Wow. Well, yeah, wouldn't that be something? You'd be quite a weapon out there. Young and smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. That would be pretty cool, But then again, I guess that's what, see, my mission now in life, now that I saw what's going on and everything in my life, I would like to search for what happens when we die. What's going to happen when we die? I like to know where we're going to go. What's life really about? How do we know there's life after death? I want to know. I want to know about the spiritual world, I guess you could say, without getting involved with the things I shouldn't get involved with. I want to know what happens when I die. I want to know where I go. I want to know if this is true. I want to know if there's a God. That's
why religion is there and has always been there in some form. I think human beings, we've always innately asked that question, and that's why, whether it's one God that humans believe in or whether there's 20, whether it's Odin or, whether it's Zeus or whether it's the god of trees or the god of the flowers or whatever the hell it is, we've always had to believe in something beyond
do you end up as a spirit or a soul? What happens when you die? Where do you go? I want to know. I would like to know what's it like when you die. Or do I just go down to the freaking ground with the worms and that's it? I go to sleep and I just don't know what the hell happens. Kind of like when I go to sleep tonight. I go to sleep and boom, that's it. I wake up in the morning.
You're just done. Yeah, no more consciousness. Yeah. That's a possibility too. It's a possibility and maybe even a probability. That's exactly what happens. We're done. We're done and over with. The only way we exist is in other people's minds. Our family, our friends, people that knew us,
that scares me.
That kind of thing. That's the only way we exist is in memories of other people. But that's a whole possibility that we're just done. There is no consciousness afterwards. We die, we're done. And that's possible. I don't want to believe it, but it's possible. I have to believe in the possibility that that's the reality. I am spiritual. I do believe that I have a soul. I do believe that there is something more after this shell, this three-dimensional physical shell dies. I believe that something else happens after that, but that's a belief. That is not, something tangible that I can say is 100% true.
You have no proof. You have no proof. Everyone says, you got proof the Bible. But really, we don't have no proof. Right?
Yeah. The Bible is, written words on paper,
Yeah.
that, people wrote down.
Has anybody ever come back from heaven and talked to you? No. Right?
No, not me. That's why I'm fascinated by stories of people like that. I think we talked about that before, people with near-death, people that did die.
That's a good show topic.
And, they're dying on an operating table. They were, brain dead for, a few minutes to a few hours or whatever, and they're brought back. And, people that drown in frozen waters and and they're underwater for a half hour before they're, resuscitated and stuff like that, and
That's
they come back and they have memories of stuff. They can describe the people around them and what was said and what people, in detail, and where they were taken, and and they can remember shit that there's no fucking way they could ever remember or know about or be aware of, and that's what fascinates me, and that's what solidifies my belief that yes, there is something more out there, that yes, we do exist beyond this physical shell of a body. And then ghost experiences. I've had ghost experiences.
Have you? You have?
Yeah, I've had ghost experiences.
Why? What did you see?
That, also convinced me that, for whatever reason, the spirit or the ghost has not passed on to whatever's next. They're in this, this interim realm for whatever reason. And, I've had ghost experiences. My mom has, my Aunt Linda, my cousin and I both experienced it at the same time.
Wait a second. What did you experience? I'm interested in knowing.
A lot of it was at my grandpa's house. Old farm. His house was like one of those couple 100-year-old farmhouses. And my mom experienced stuff, mostly, sounds, feelings, like, what they typically talk about, like with all of a sudden this, even though it's like hot summer and there was no air conditioning, hot summer evening, and just suddenly, just walking into the room and it feels like you just walked into a freezer and then back out again, cold spots. My cousin and I remember this so distinctly. I think she's a couple of years older than I am, so I think she was about 12 and I think I was about 10. And we were staying at my grandpa's house. We were in the living room. He had a, sofa bed. And my grandpa's rocking chair in the living room, where it sat, like the floor would creak very distinctly. Like when you sat down in that rocking chair and you rocked back and forth, it was its own unique sound. No other sound in the house, no other creaking of the boards or anything in the house sounded exactly like the sound of when you were rocking back and forth in Grandpa's rocking chair. Typical, just a typical wooden rocking chair. And so she and I were in bed, and it's all, Grandpa's in his bedroom, Grandma's in her bedroom. It was, nobody was up, and we both saw in the kitchen this little red light, and it was floating around in the kitchen because you could see between the living room, like, the archway or the doorway that, separated the kitchen from the living room. So we could see it floating around, kind of going in and out of view based on that vantage point, between the archway and then coming back into view. So it's floating around. And we're like, what the fuck is that? And this is before laser lights, so we're talking, this is 40 years ago. You didn't have tap laser lights or anything. And so it's just like, it was independent. It wasn't coming from anything. You know what I mean? It's like floating around. And she and I were just sitting there, and we're like watching this thing, and we're just stone cold quiet. We both noticed it at the same time, and we're kind of nudging each other, and it was like barely any light in there except for maybe like off in the distance, the outside light, just barely enough light coming into the windows and to see each other or make each other out. And so we're like, what the fuck? And then it started coming into the living room. And when it started coming into the living room, then we covered our heads with the blankets. We're like, oh shit, and we're like hiding under the blankets. We're like, what the fuck is coming into the living room now, And so we're just sitting there and we're quiet. And we're in the blankets and we're like, holy shit, but being quiet. And the next thing you know, we hear that creak of the floor. Whatever it was, that fucking thing sat down, and no, not just push the rocking chair. No, it did not make that sound if you just pushed the rocking chair, to make it rock. It wouldn't make that sound. You actually just sit in it. It needed the weight of something to rock back and forth and make that creaking sound, right? So we're like, whatever the fuck it is, it's literally like putting pressure on the rocking chair and making it rock. We heard that and it's like, and the rocking chair is right at our feet, like maybe 2-3 feet away from us at most, from our feet.
Oh,
and then we were like really freaking out, we're like, what the fuck? It's like, right at the end of us, and it creaked about 4 or 5 times like that. And then everything was quiet. And, like, we fully expected something to, like, grab our feet or something, Like, we were both like, what the fuck are we? Is this going to be like a poltergeist thing, where the clown comes out and pulls you under the fucking bed? Like, we fully expected something like that. And, but it didn't happen. And so it's like after it was quiet for a minute or so, then I uncovered my face from the blanket. And I could see in the light that the rocking chair was still rocking. It just wasn't making the noise. You know what I mean? So it's like somebody was sitting there, or putting pressure on it to make it creak, but then left. Yeah. No more light. It was gone, but the rocking chair was still rocking back and forth. Like how a rocking chair does when somebody just gets up, and it rocks back and forth, several times before it settles. And then, Maggie and I were just like, holy shit, and we knew it wasn't my grandmother because my grandmother was still in her bedroom. We knew that. We could hear her snoring. My grandpa was still in his room because the door never opened, the old, farm doors. If he had opened up the bedroom door, we would have heard it. So we knew he was, nobody around. Like, we did not know what the fuck that was. And she and I still remember that story, and like we hadn't talked to each other for several years, and we mentioned this story. I'm like, do you remember, like whatever that was, ghost or whatever it was at Grandpa's house? And she's like, yeah. And then she told me that when she got a little older, a few years later, she was talking to my Aunt Linda, my mom's sister, and told her that story. And my Aunt Linda said the exact same fucking thing happened to her. That she saw this red light, this little itty bitty red light, and, an almost, identical kind of situation. And in that case, though, it wasn't the rocking chair. I forget what made a noise. She heard a noise, too. Or something, but she saw the little red light floating around, and it freaked her out, and it made a noise and stuff like that. And so, it totally validated. Like, my cousin is telling me this. He's like, yeah, I talked to my mom, and she said the same thing happened to her. And when she was young, so there's something. I don't know what it was, but and then talking to my mom later. Apparently, on the other side of the farm, twice somebody tried to build a house down across the field closer to the little lake that my grandfather, owned, was only one of 2 owners around this little lake and had access to it. Well, prior to my grandpa's farmhouse, going back in the history of it, twice somebody had built a house there, and both of those houses had burned down within a year. And there were still remnants of one of them in the forest that, when I went exploring, like with my sister and stuff, we saw the remnants of it, like, the brick and what was the chimney and stuff. And so that's why the house, my grandpa's house, was built where it was, because they kind of like felt that area was cursed down there. And so they built the house all the way across the field and away from that area. And so we've always felt like, yeah, there's definitely some ghost presence here. Yeah, and so that was just like one of the times. Another time, I'm still fully believe I conjured a ghost.
Conjured, what's that mean?
I believe it was a friendly one. Using like crystal magic and being very specific about the ghost that I conjured. Not a specific name, but as part of the conjuring, demanding that it's only to allow a spirit that has good intentions, that will do no harm, that kind of thing. And I do believe I conjured one that hung around for a couple of weeks until I demanded that it finally leave.
Wow.
And that was, it's like really weird, and it's hard to describe. It's like I remember after I conjured it, there was a specific spot in the hallway that whenever it was around, like my cat would freak. My cat would just, for no reason, my cat would just be walking along and would get in a spot in the hallway. And I protected my bedroom. I specifically said, you are not allowed in my bedroom. My bedroom is my safe space. You're not allowed in it. And so the spirit never came into my room. It was in the hallway. Hung out in the hallway and downstairs. And my cat would just be like, walking along, and it would get to a certain area in the hallway, once in a while, and I could tell it was there because the cat would just get, all puffy out of nowhere. There's nothing there, and all of a sudden the cat would just be like all fucking puffy and staunchy and like, run away from it and like just stare at that area from a distance, all puffy like. And then I would walk through there, and it would be the cold spot thing, like I said, those cold spots. Like it was like walking through a freezer, and then back out again. That kind of thing. And yet it was also like, it was kind of freaky, but yet at the same time, it, like when I walked through it, even though it's cold, like, I sensed that it wasn't an evil spirit, that it was a good spirit. It wasn't going to harm me. And I did not feel afraid of it. It was weird and it was freaky, in a way, like, wow, did I really do this? Kind of a way. But I knew that I was safe. I knew that it wasn't going to harm me or anybody else. I just had that sense. And, but eventually it was like, after a couple of weeks or so, I finally asked it to leave. And I said, I don't know, where you need to be or where you need to go, but I don't want to keep you from wherever it is you're supposed to be any longer. So I'm letting you go. And then after that, no more experiences with the cat like that. No more experiences of like I'm walking in and out of a freezer. Nothing like that.
Oh, that's good. Wow.
Pretty crazy. I know.
That. I don't like ghosts.
But you know what? Like that's kind of, it's that kind of thing. Like I'm thankful for it because it's like, that tells me like, that's why I can't be like a non-believer of, some higher spirit or creator or, I can't not believe that there's something more to us after our body perishes. I do believe in a spirit, and I do, there's something more to us because of that. And maybe if it wasn't for that, I'd be more prone to not believe in God at all, or not even believe in the possibility of God. You know what I mean? I might not be open to it, but it's those experiences that give me that faith that, but yeah, there is something more out there, and it's not all bad, you know. It's not all evil. It's kind of freaky, yeah, but to know that there was a spirit there, to really feel it, and know that, and at the same time just knowing to my core that that spirit was not there to harm me. It wasn't going to harm anybody. You know, it was just there. It was hanging out, being entertained by our comings and goings or whatever. It was just there, you know. And I had asked it to be, you know. In that case, my grandpa's one that freaked me out, you know. That one freaked me out because we did not ask for that fucker to come around, you know. Whatever that fucking the red light was that was floating around and made the fucking rocking chair go back and forth and all that shit. You know, that one was weird. And then it was even weirder that my Aunt Linda, you know, to find out years later through my cousin that my Aunt Linda had the same experience or a very similar experience with that red light thing. I mean, that was really weird. Like, wow, it wasn't just us then, you know. It wasn't just us being kids and our imagination running wild, you know. Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. You got me freaked out.
I didn't know if Blog Talk hung up on us or not because we've been on for a while.
No, actually,
yeah, that's one thing, you know. And then, of course, I think I've talked about the UFO experiences too. But my mom has her stories about, you know, weird stuff on the farm too, and yeah, it's one of those things.
Wow, that's some weird stuff. Yeah, I don't know if it's weird. It's just a powerful story, you know. I mean, it's firsthand testimony from you. It's real, you know. I mean, it's testimony.
Yeah, like
wow.
I would have no reason to make this shit up, you know. Like, please look like a fucking crazy person, and you know, have people think that I'm nuts. Please, yes.
Yeah. Well, a psycho would, yeah.
It's not something that I talk about very often because it does sound kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, it is, but it makes sense though, and it's real. I can tell you're telling the truth, but it's like, wow, that's weird, man. It's crazy, you know. It just shows that there's life. What is this life like? That stuff that you did see, then what is that life? Who is that? You know. Does that mean we're stuck here?
Yeah.
I mean, got me thinking. Well,
and
anyway,
then I haven't even told my other story about how I think my grandfather partially saved me after he had died.
I want to hear this one. Go ahead, tell me this one.
It was he had died the day before. What was it? It was like the day before Halloween, I believe. I believe it was October 30th.
Halloween,
but no, that's not really too significant. But it was after his funeral. I had driven there. I was 16 when he died, and I had driven to where, for his church service and stuff there in Marina and St. Croix in Minnesota. And I had my two best friends with me. Sheila and Bobby, and then after the service and everything, we went back to the farmhouse and we had gathered, and I realized that I had lost my silver watch, and I loved this silver watch. To this day, I've never been able to find a silver watch like this. I love this fucking thing. It was like a bracelet. It was really pretty.
You still have it today.
It was my favorite watch.